Good evening, Little Masters, and welcome back to Season 2 and Episode 33 of the Rings of Power Wrap-Up, where, well, the best dialogue goes to characters who are about to die.
James and I are now really worried because Alan's been telling us that we have the best dialogue. What are you saying,
You
Alan?
already caught my plan. I can't believe this.
Oh, no.
Wow. I'm nowhere near as good at deception as Annatar.
So he says. But folks, it's time to pull up a bench in the common room. I'm Sarah Brown, Shield Maiden of Rohan.
And I'm James Tauber, the Sage of the South. And we're both here with Alan Sisto, the Man of the West.
And tonight we're going to be talking about the season finale, hard to believe we're already here, of the second season of Amazon Prime Video's television series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power.
Now, before we get started, we want to offer a warm welcome for those of you joining us for the first time. Here at the Rings of Power Wrap-Up, we talk about the characters, story, and lore behind the Rings of Power.
And of course, we'll be diving into some of Tolkien's biggest themes as well. Things like mortality and immortality, fate and free will, unity and fellowship, that kind of thing. And of course, we're going to do our fair share of speculating, in this case, trying to figure out what's going to happen in a year or two.
Indeed. We hope you'll learn something new about Tolkien every time you listen. And we hope you'll have a few laughs in the process. We're glad you've joined us.
And we hope you'll be glad you joined as well. Right, before we get into the episode discussion, do we have any corrections to make?
Nothing from me, Alan.
Okay. Well, not so much a correction as we must be doing something right. I mean, I hate to pat ourselves on the back, but...
No, let's pat ourselves on the back.
That's right. Here we go. Little circle pats. We received, among others, 2 emails back to back that really showcase the wide range of opinions that folks have. First, we had somebody write in saying that they've listened to both the PPP and Rings of Power Wrap-Up, but now they can no longer listen to either because we try to treat this show seriously when it is, in fact, nonsense that needs to be severely criticized and dismissed. I'm quoting, by the way. Apparently, we are, quote, far too polite, and we have therefore not called it what this listener says it is, rubbish.
But alas, for one listener, our criticisms aren't enough. For another, they're too much. Long-time listeners of both shows, a couple wrote in saying we have disappointed them with our persistent negativity. We get the insinuation of an old joke here with the writers pointing out the trope that older fans, quote, hate all adaptations because we are incapable of accepting modifications and updates necessary to make them entertaining to modern audiences. But James, you'll be delighted to learn that you get a pass on this one. Apparently only Alan and I, quote, exemplify this stereotype.
Oh!
Ouch!
I am younger than the two of you.
Oh, be quiet.
Okay, yeah. That's
By what? 1 year.
Yeah. I mean, together we're nearly as old as Gandalf.
No, but ouch, baby. Very ouch.
Seriously.
Another thing that apparently really angers these two is our criticism of the callbacks to Jackson's film. Now, they rightly point out that the Jackson Lord of the Rings films were many people's first encounters with Tolkien. It's a good thing they were good films then. So
That's true.
And I quote, when you denigrate the references, you insult us.
Oh, dear
End
Lord.
quote.
Oh.
That's an unfortunate conclusion. After all, the reason we often criticize the references, and you've said this a lot, Alan, is because they're calling back to better cinema.
Yeah.
And break us out of the current adaptation. But okay.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they show us charity. Sarah,
Oh, nice.
and I quote, we don't begrudge you your obsessive fixation with lore details that to us sound like debates over how many angels dance on the head of a pin. End quote.
I'm grateful for that.
So they're so gracious to not begrudge us our lore appreciation, they would appreciate it if we would, quote, be more charitable to the references that bring us back to the movies we love.
Oh, my.
I mean, I suppose I can try to be a little more charitable about those references. Clearly, they're doing them not to, encourage or warm the hearts nostalgically of fans of the Jackson films. They're doing it because they know it works. They know that any tie back they can make to a successful franchise will hopefully rub off on them. I mean, I don't want to be totally cynical about it.
Yeah, and as we've said, sometimes it works well.
Yeah, sometimes it really does. And we have commented on it when it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And other times, and as we just said, sometimes it reminds us that the Jackson films did a better job at certain things.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think even last year we recognized that there was a tendency of the show to pay homage to the Jackson films, whereas the Jackson films were more often quoting Tolkien.
Right.
So we felt like there were movie quotes as opposed to book quotes when they could have just used the book. And, when in doubt, follow your nose, for instance, comes to mind really strongly.
Yeah. So I have some thoughts here.
Oh, I bet you do. But before you do, I have to just wrap up what they said real quick. They do conclude that our podcast, that sadly the Rings of Power wrap-up, does a disservice to both the Tolkien legacy and the fandom.
What?
Yeah, apparently our whining and quibbling doesn't build the fan base that will need to continue after we're gone. And since we're so old, apparently we're going to be gone pretty soon.
Well, I'm clearly just going to expire by next year. I mean,
the two of you aren't going to finish the show, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially if they wait 2 years before the next season. I mean, that's 6 more years.
Oh, for goodness sake. Okay.
Sarah's shaking her head because normally I make fun of Alan for being a couple of years older than me. But Sarah's getting it for the first time. I don't think I've ever insulted you.
Well, as the middle child of this trio, right? Okay, yes, I have things to say here.
I thought you do. Those words are capitalized, aren't they?
They really are, yes. It's amazing how you can hear those capitals, but here's the thing. So clearly we are Schrödinger's podcasters. We are at one and the same time too critical and not critical enough until somebody listens to the podcast and observes for themselves which one they think we are, and at which point we become that. Yeah. And the fact is that both of those criticisms we've just read are really unfair, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Honestly, it feels to me like they didn't even listen to the podcasts, because the one thing that we do on Rings of Power Wrap Up is we give our honest opinion. We are joyous and excited when something goes really well. Yeah, and we praise them for
succeed,
that.
Right?
We praise them with great praise when they've earned it, right?
Eglario.
Exactly. But then we also, when we find things that we didn't like, we criticize those things. I mean, we don't just say, oh, that was rubbish and move on. No, we actually say why we thought that didn't work so well.
Exactly.
Never once have we said, ever, because we would not do this, that people who like Rings of Power are the good folks and the people that don't are the bad folks, or vice versa, because that's nonsense.
There is room in the fandom for people who enjoy the show and for people who don't. 100%.
Absolutely. But, I mean, let's just take a step back and check the front and side view mirrors here, because this is a podcast about a television show in which we, checks notes, give our opinions. Now, if you don't like those opinions, cool.
Yeah, totally.
Not a problem. Other podcasts are available.
That is true.
And you're always welcome back if you feel like giving us another tester. Yeah. It's not a problem. But this is 3 people who all, by the way, know Tolkien's work pretty well.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I don't want to toot our own horn.
And thank you so much for saying that it's fine for us to dip into the lore, because, yeah. This is literally an opinion podcast. Yeah. If you don't want to hear opinions, don't listen to a podcast that is an opinion podcast.
That is really
I don't think any one of us is going to apologize for having opinions.
No, especially because we try to make sure our opinions are not trouncing on others. Speaking of trouncing, James, I shut you up. Say what you wanted to say.
Oh, we can tread all over James. That doesn't count.
Well, he's the youngest. Do we care what the youngest has to say?
I'm the shill, apparently.
Oh, I wish.
Oh, man.
But I'm just thinking, I want to get printed on a T-shirt this quote: obsessive fixation with lore details.
Oh yeah, that's us. Yep,
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll wear that label proudly.
Here's the thing. What I hope people get out of this podcast is, as they watch the show, I think any watcher of the show is going to have some moments they liked and some moments they didn't like.
And they'll differ radically.
And they'll differ. But in it's true. I mean, that's the amazing thing, right? I've had conversations with people that say, episode 5 was the best of the season. Others that say episode 5 was the worst of the season, right?
Yeah.
Different things for different people. But what I hope people get out of this podcast is where they maybe felt that there was something about the show they didn't like, or they, didn't work for them. Maybe we help them understand what it was that was off about that. But at the same time, when there's something really fantastic about the show, and, as you said, we talk about that a lot. We want to emphasize that and help to explain why we think it works. Yeah. And more than anything else, we're just trying to explain the relationship to Tolkien's written works,
Yes.
to give people a better appreciation of those, both in where the show gets it right and where the show differs, perhaps for legitimate reasons in some cases.
Well,
and
exactly. We've talked about the canons of narrative art and how sometimes they do have to change the story to make it work in a cinematic format.
It's a different medium. You cannot do exactly
canons
what
of
a book
narrative
does.
art cannot be wholly different, but they can be somewhat different, can't they, Professor? Yeah.
We were actually talking about that just last episode.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. So, look, we really obviously want people to enjoy the show, but we know that there are going to be moments that you all like that we don't, and moments that you all don't like that we do. And there's just going to be that varying of opinions. But like James said, the idea for us is to kind of bring it back to the lore, where the lore is particularly relevant. I mean, where they're totally filling in the blanks, then we're going to talk about it more from just a cinematic perspective or how it fits with the storylines and things like that. But, when they actually are touching on the lore, like the creation of the rings, for instance, which was something that I didn't go into detail, but that was one of the criticisms of the second email, was how we were a little bit hard on that. Yeah, some of it might be because of the change in medium, and we can be okay with that. But that doesn't mean we're not going to point out the lore, because we want people to understand where this comes from and why the changes might have been made or why they might have been necessary or not necessary. I think the thing that got to me, is that it's not just like a personal criticism. I've been doing this long enough that personal criticisms roll off my back. It does bother me a little bit that both of these people can't listen to the PPP now because they don't like us on the Rings of Power wrap-up. And I'm kind of like, wait a minute.
What the hell?
That show is totally not this show. And clearly I've been showing for 8 years that I know the lore and I'm learning the lore even better every week. And, you can learn a lot from that show that has nothing to do with Rings of Power, nothing at all to do with Rings of Power. So it's a little bit of that baby in bathwater situation. And I don't quite understand that, but to each their own. And like you said, there are other podcasts. If you don't think that we are kind enough to the show, you can always go to Rings and Realms. Corey is going to be nothing but positive all the time, just about. And that's
because
fantastic.
That's Corey. And he's great at that.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you don't think we're critical enough, there are some people on Twitter that you will absolutely embrace you. I'm not going to name
absolutely. Just
don't name any names.
Respect for Tolkien.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah,
well, that was interesting.
That's it. I mean, it's I do think it's a very strange criticism to say that Alan and I, one, that we're so old that we can't appreciate things that are entertaining to modern audiences.
Get off
my
lawn.
Darlings, I am not the Lady Dowager Countess. I'm not that freaking old. But also that we hate all adaptations.
I know.
Who on earth listened to this and thought that we were hating this as an adaptation?
Yeah, we don't even hate this. We might hate moments of it. Not even hate. That's too strong a word.
That's too strong a word.
I don't hate any of it.
Because it's so good when it is good.
Yes, it shines when
it
it's great.
disappoints us when it isn't, I think is what...
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Exactly.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Well, that's perfect.
That's the thing. I mean, literally the moment that I had the word hate come out of my mouth, I'm like, no, even the things I don't like are never reaching to that level. They just never have.
No, hate takes such a huge amount of energy.
Seriously.
And trust me when I say my energy goes into other things. Yeah. I don't have it to spare for hating anything or anyone. I may despise some things, but that takes so much less energy.
It is interesting because this, of course, these two, and I almost want to apologize to the two individuals or three individuals in this case involved, only because your emails are representatives, but they are representatives. I've gotten others, plenty of others. We've seen lots of reviews giving us 1 star because we think the show is terrible. We've gotten reviews that are 1 star because we're too hard on the show. It's just
told you, Schrödinger's
podcast. And you just don't know who we are until you open the box. But anyway, there you go. Fun times.
Well, at least we're not possibly dead like the cat in the attic.
That's true. I do like the two alternatives on this. Yeah.
Okay, and breathe. And if you're still listening, Alan, would you like to get us started?
I would. And last time we had this problem where we had to combine everything pretty much into one storyline. And this time we don't. We have all the storylines. And I have to admit, just off the top of my head, I was impressed at how they tackled them. The pacing could have been disastrous, and it really wasn't.
We were worried last week, weren't we, when we thought, how are they going to address all of these different places and scenarios?
Yeah.
I thought they did pretty
exactly.
well.
I agree. They did it extremely well. They covered absolutely every part of the story. Even things like Pelagia as opposed to Númenor and so on, as we'll get to. They covered everything, and I thought the pacing was phenomenal in this.
It really was well done, I have to say.
We didn't think they would be able to do it last week.
I thought at
this.
least one or two of these storylines would fall on their face, frankly. I really did, because I thought, how in the world are they going to tie these up satisfactorily? But they really did a good job.
They did an amazing job. And let's talk about the first one of these, because it was one of my favorites.
This first few minutes was worth the price of admission alone.
That's some of the best. I don't know how long it was, 6 minutes, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I think it's some of the best 5 or 6 minutes of the show.
Yes, of both seasons.
Of both seasons, yes.
Oh, yes.
Sorry,
100%.
not just of this episode, of the whole
This
the
is
whole
extraordinary, this scene. It's glorious.
We're going to come to the details, but both visually and the writing.
Oh, emotionally, it just was so good.
So let's dive into it.
Let's do it. So, of course, we're talking about the Khazad-dûm storyline. And, after the deep, deep disappointment on Elrond's face near the end of the previous episode, I'm really glad that we got to head back to Durin and the dwarves immediately to see what has kept them. Prince Durin arrives with it's great shot, by the way, with that blur. You don't even know what you're looking at first. There's this just, what is this? And what am I seeing as he comes into focus? So Prince Durin arrives with Narvi, and it's the worst thing imaginable. Disa is tending to this injured dwarf. Look, the ring has taken him. It is done. And Prince Durin reaches that decision that last episode he just couldn't reach, which is, that's it. I have to do this now.
Yeah.
And the emotion in my heart as he's telling Disa, no matter what you hear, do not follow me into the mines.
Yeah. And you can still see, even in this moment of terrible choices and terrible decisions being made, that love there between Prince Durin and Disa is just palpable. The looks that they exchange in these moments. I mean, good Lord, the chemistry these two actors have.
They do steal just about every scene they're in. I mean, that's been true from the very get-go.
Well, you know how I feel about my queen.
Well, she's about to be your queen. So, we do cut
well, we get a kiss, right? I just want to point out, if anyone was worried that maybe this was not going to continue to be a kissing show, it's a kissing show.
It's definitely a kissing show now.
Yes, it's a kissing show for sure. That was fantastic. And you're right, because you sense that love that Durin and Disa have in the foreground, while in the background you can feel the love that Prince Durin has for his father that we're about to see come to the fore. Yes. In one of the most well-acted scenes, certainly in this show. Just fantastic stuff from both actors.
Oh, these two have killed it.
They really
have, if you'll pardon the soon-to-come pun.
So, of course, we cut to King Durin using this, massive tool to sort of bash his way through the wall. We get the foreboding growl of the Balrog. I mean, we know what's coming. And that's the thing. The writers know that we know what's coming. They've shown us already the Balrog's going to be here. And most of us know that there is a Balrog here. Granted, it's not supposed to destroy Moria yet, and I think they've solved that problem nicely,
yes,
too.
Exactly.
Yes.
Really nicely.
Really well.
But wow, really intense moment, right? There's the confrontation, but we get that deeply touching father-son moment where he's talking about, when we used to arm wrestle and he used to let me get my arm up, and nothing is stronger than my father.
Exactly. I mean, talk about an amazing setup and then payoff just a few minutes later.
The payoff was so good.
Because even standalone, that setup about the arm wrestling was amazing, right? Because that message of saying you've always been stronger than me.
Yeah.
And because that's the whole thing, is I'm not strong enough to use this axe against you.
No, I
can't. Nobody's as strong as my dad. Was just such.
I love that.
I mean, I was in tears watching it. I'm in tears now thinking about it again. But it turns out that's just a setup for later. Oh my goodness.
What's funny is Prince Durin is trying to use that as a setup for his own argument. Like, nobody's stronger than you. So since you have this strength, take off the ring.
Yeah.
He still doesn't do it.
Not yet.
But it's like, Durin's telling this story to sort of try to get his dad one last time. And his dad is listening.
Yes.
As we'll hear. It's just, oh my goodness, the payoff, like you said, it was a gut punch. But
it's heart-wrenching. This whole scene is heart-wrenching.
It is. Because you know they're doomed. There's going to be trouble here, and it's not going to be a pretty sight. Yeah.
What I love is that the relationship between father and son throughout both seasons, actually, if we're being truthful here, has been fraught with difficulty. Yeah, it has been tense the entire time. Yeah. But what we get in this scene is that even though their relationship has not been the best, they both still love each other so much. We first see this from Prince Durin, of course, because he's expressing it first. But the fact that the love is there, even though their relationship has been so fraught, it's just so strong, so powerful in this moment.
It really is. We do see those moments with King Durin, showing that. Sometimes not to Prince Durin, right? I mean, like that conversation that he had with Disa. But it's clear, and it becomes really clear at the end of this sequence. He makes that last bash through the wall, and we get that incredible shot of that chamber with all the mithril veins just running richly through the rock. I mean, this is going to make them, wealthier than even all the gold and silver they could possibly want.
This is the untold riches that King Durin has been wanting.
But he explains that the only way he could see the mountain clearly enough to know this was here was to wear the ring. And I have no doubt that is how he saw it, that ring did give him this power. We saw it happen early on when he was able to find sunlight because of the ring. I still have to know why the ring didn't show him the Balrog. I'd like to know, but
I wonder if that's because it's primarily enhancing the greed.
The last thing that greed wants to do is showing something that would get in its way.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know how the sunlight though might not really.
That was a necessary thing to discover, I guess, to continue the mining. Right. If it wasn't for that, the mining wouldn't have continued.
Yeah. I wonder though if. Once again, Sauron's got a hand in all of this, and we know that he had a hand in. We see that in that early episode of the season. I might have been one of the first ones where we see the sort of black lines moving from Mordor to Moria, sort of almost as a result, causing the earthquake there. He's got a lot to do in this place, right? We saw the previous episode, Annatar looking down at that torch that was burning, and you see the Balrog in a flame.
He's seen the Balrog.
He knows it's there. Oh, yeah.
And in a way, I can't help but think, or at least guess, that the reason that Durin didn't see the Balrog in the visions of what he saw in terms of the mithril was because Sauron was blocking that actively. Like, you're not going to see these things that I don't want you to see. It made me think a little bit of what we know about the Palantiri in truth. That is that they don't show anything that's false. They can't show you anything that isn't really happening, but you do lack context and you may be missing information.
Yep, you have to interpret it.
There'll be some of that coming up, actually, in the Númenor storyline.
Yeah, there will.
We do see a fulfillment of a Palantir vision.
I think there's almost a little bit of a parallel there, or they're trying to draw a parallel between that sort of, again, we see that with the elven visions, too. Yes, they see things, but they don't see everything. But coming back to this scene, of course, that glow is menacing. As they're having that moment about the ring, you see the glow on King Durin's face, and clearly somebody woke the Balrog up from a nap, and he is unhappy about it.
Yep. It's far too early for the Balrog. He wasn't expecting to wake up for quite some time.
Yeah, I was sleeping. This was my quiet place. You woke me up. Now you're going to pay. And he we get the whip action, sort of like we did with Gandalf on the bridge in Fellowship of the Ring, of course. That's a visual callback that works for me. I don't know about you guys. I didn't feel like that was an overdone.
I had no problem with that. And even the fact that the Balrog looks very similar to the Balrog in the Jackson version.
I'm actually totally fine with that. Right. I mean, it should.
Which could just be because it's John Howe's vision of a Balrog.
Right. Could be. Yeah.
I did like that the wings were more shadowy this time.
Oh, the wings were phenomenal.
Because as we all know, Balrogs do not have wings. They are
physical wings. They are wings of metaphor.
They are wings of metaphor.
Did you say rings of metaphor or wings of metaphor?
That too, maybe.
But yeah, I thought the quote unquote wings. Get it right? Wings.
Now we're saying Balrogs don't have rings either, but they definitely don't have wings.
Yeah. Elmer Fudd would get very confused, but anyway.
He would.
I thought the wings were phenomenal because you really get this. They're not part of the Balrog's body, but you can see why they would be described as wings.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
The shadowy wings.
And I think we see that a little bit because when he falls, right, he's sort of on the cliffside, and then it appears that cliffside sort of slides down and he falls down. And, the wings are not trying to flap. They're not doing anything that would actually act like wings. Instead, they're just sort of falling with him, almost slower than he is as the smoke sort of coalesces around his body. It's
because
really,
they failed
really
to
well
provide
done.
him with the wind beneath his wings, of course.
No, you did not just do that. The wind beneath. Oh, okay.
Didn't drink his Red Bull.
No,
No.
that's right. That's right. He did not drink his Red Bull. That's the problem right there. So obviously, fantastic visuals on the Balrog. King Durin finally, and obviously, too late, it has to be said, does take off the ring. And that's when we get the payoff from that line.
Oh, yeah.
I never let you win. It was just you getting stronger.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, talk about just a stab
choking
through the
up.
heart.
Yeah, I'm just choking up hearing it. It's such a beautiful line.
Yeah.
But the strength it must have taken for King Durin to take off the ring at that moment.
Yeah.
Because the ring, I mean, could it have been offering him the potential to do something about the Balrog?
To maybe defeat the Balrog, right?
Right. No, he takes it off.
I think part of it is because he knows what he's got to do, and he doesn't want the ring to go with him. And in a way,
there is also that.
The parallel. Remember when Galadriel gave Elrond her ring? It wasn't.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, exactly. It was save the ring.
He didn't do it to save himself. He did it to save the ring.
ring. And in his case, when he thinks of saving the ring, he's thinking of saving Khazad-dûm, right?
Yes.
He's thinking, you're going to have to use this.
Right.
Because I'm resigning my kingship, because he calls him king.
Yeah.
And
It's amazing.
Oh my goodness,
Yes.
the emotional hammer that was, right? As he asks him,
And he liked it, so he had to put a ring on it.
oh no. Oh no. Yeah. He asks his son for forgiveness and then calls him king. And like I said, I'm not crying, you're crying. Who's cutting onions in here? That was an absolutely emotionally.
Oh, it was raining on my TV screen.
It really was. I was.
And then to top it off, we then get, I think, one of the most impressive visuals of the entire show.
Yes.
That slow motion.
Slow motion. Mm-hmm.
Leaping in to charge the Balrog, and when the whip strikes the axe or whatever it is.
Sword and
it was a sword
It's
or an axe,
extraordinary.
Scott?
I don't remember.
I
I'll have
thought
to
it was
look
an
at
axe.
the visuals again. Yeah, I think you're right. It was an axe. Yeah.
Amazing. That was a flawless. That whole scene was flawless. I think it was just the writing, the acting, the visuals, the sound design.
And then the fact that Disa and the rest come in and they're holding Prince Durin back because obviously, his father's just gone over the edge. I mean, literally over the edge.
Literally. Yeah. You're right, James. Everything about this scene was spot on, and it was a perfect way to open this episode because
then we get the main title immediately following that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that we didn't start with the titles. We started with this scene. It was an absolutely perfect decision. Tremendous moment.
Yeah, 5 minutes into the show, and I'm already on the edge of my seat, and my heart rate's gone up.
Yes, and I'm emotionally invested. Right? I mean, this is the moment, and now we've all wondered what's going to happen in terms of the Durins. Right? How is this going to resolve? I don't know that any of us were predicting this. That King Durin would hand off his throne to his son by sacrificing himself to protect his realm.
Yep.
And yet that's clearly what happens, right? I mean, the passageway collapses, and now the Balrog is going to be stuck there again until the dwarves foolishly delve too deeply again, later on, much further in the Third Age. Mm-hmm. But wow.
You can drink deep and go to sleep.
That's right. You should not be waking. We are going to come back to Khazad-dûm later, and we're not in this episode, but in the TV show, and that's why we're going to cover it here. So near the end of the show, we come back to Khazad-dûm. Narvi comes to now King Durin and brings him news of Eregion's fall and the escape of Elrond, leading the refugees to a valley north of here. Mm-hmm. Dun, dun, dun. Anybody know what the name of that valley to the north of Khazad-dûm might be called?
Ooh, could it be Imladris?
Yes.
Or in English, Rivendell.
Rivendell. Mm-hmm.
The last homely house.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's going to have to get somebody to help build that because the valley's pretty.
We don't see that construction yet. But,
no, not yet. The dwarves are going to come, and no, I don't think the dwarves are going to help with that construction.
No.
Durin wants Narvi to pass word to Elrond, right? Khazad-dûm stands ready to offer aid. His heart is just broken that he could not be there in time to save Eregion. Interestingly, Disa has some contrary opinion / advice. Right? We've got troubles of our own, and this gives us sort of a preview of what King Durin is going to be facing next season. We've got at least two dangers on the Khazad-dûm front. Number one, certainly a believable one, which is that the other dwarves want to collect on your father's promise, and that presumably means the rings, right?
The rings, yeah.
And they've already stumped up gold for them, so...
Exactly. So either give us all the money back or give us the rings. And that, you'd like to think that should be easily resolved. I don't think Durin wants to give them the rings, but send back the money, you know? I mean, we've got enough.
But we know, according to the lore, that they're going to get the rings, aren't they?
They are. That's the thing. So somehow he's either going to be pressured into thinking the rings aren't that bad and then distributing them, or they're going to be taken in some way. Mm-hmm. So certainly the rings will get distributed. The other threat, I have to admit, I was a little bit thrown off by.
Me too.
Yes, I wasn't sure this was necessary. There's enough peril for the dwarves without bringing in the jealous brother.
It was never brought up. And then there's the whole Durin thing. The fact is, if this is Durin the 4th and Durin the 5th, if I'm remembering the numbers correctly.
3 and 4.
Oh, it's 3 and 4. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. This is 4. It's under Durin 5 that the Balrog wakes up. So Durin the 4th, he's Durin. He's Durin. Yes. And if it's Durin, he is the king. I mean, there's just no question about that.
If his brother's called Bob, it's kind of a giveaway, right?
Yeah,
which is the heir? Is it Durin the 4th or is it Bob? Well, the name it's in the name, right?
It's in the name right there. So I will admit that last little bit sort of fell flat for me and made me like, wait a minute, why are you reaching for yet another conflict that doesn't need to be there?
Yeah.
And that it really is conflicting with the lore. This isn't filling in a gap. This is actually coming up with something sort of really
two things to play Schrödinger here.
Yeah.
The thing I didn't like so the thing I'll say in its defense is we have to wait and see, right?
Yeah, that's true.
As is often the case, and we're going to probably get to an example of this coming up later in the episode,
yeah.
There are cases where they do things we don't like and it turns out we misunderstood or given a broader context, it made sense.
That's why we have to wait for the whole thing, yeah.
Exactly. But the thing I didn't like about it was simply that it was not set up in any way. I think is this the first time we've heard that there's a brother?
Never heard of his brother before this.
Yeah.
No.
I've got the funny... I'm trying to think if... I know, I have to search.
I think we would have thought about it when he took the airship away from Durin the 4th.
I think he said something like other brothers are available.
Something like that, yeah. But I think they could have done a little bit more to establish that there is a brother that was a contender.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think all along that Disa might have said something like, well, we can't let your brother, gain this influence.
Just throwing it in a couple more times.
Right.
Throughout
setting it up.
Season,
it just felt a little weird.
Yeah.
But of course, the whole thread ends with Durin looking at the dwarven rings ominously, like, I'm going to have to wear one of these to solve the problem. I sure hope he doesn't. I'm deeply hopeful that Durin the 4th here will keep his promise.
He's had a pretty good example of why you shouldn't put a ring on it.
And he's promised Disa he never would.
Mm-hmm. And, I would not be somebody who would gleefully break a promise to Disa because she will break you.
She absolutely will. And we also don't want to break our promises, and we promise to come right back and talk more after the break.
We're about to get back into our discussion of the final episode of this season. But we want to remind you that when you finish listening to us, the talk continues all night long at the Rings of Power wrap-up.
We do have an amazing community of listeners, and they really do keep the conversation going, from the Rings of Power group on Facebook, our Twitter feed, our Reddit community, and more.
Now on Facebook, just look for Rings Wrap-Up. Be sure to follow the page so that you get all of our posts and episode drops. But you're going to want to join the group to get involved in some really great discussions, certainly some fiery ones, about the TV show episodes as well as our episodes.
And if you're on Reddit, look us up at r/ringswrapup. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram where we're at Rings Wrap Up.
And if you enjoy the show, regardless of whether you think we're sometimes too kind, sometimes too cruel, please help us by giving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and recommend us to your friends.
Please do.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and come right back in, and we're moving on to the next storyline that we see showing up. And we knew they were going to have to tackle this one. Rune, the stranger, the dark wizard, and the hobbits. And we open with the stranger in a slot cannon of some kind. It turns out that it's actually the Stour village, or the entry to the Stour village. But he does spot a horse with some strange markings on the saddle. And I think we all recognize that from some of the other scenes where the dark wizard and the Gaudrim.
Yes. Yep.
And what's interesting is as he enters what's clearly the Stour village, it's empty. It's totally vacant. He's walking under that tree with all the things dangling from it. There's not a soul to be found. And that's when we finally get the confrontation or the conversation at this point. It's just a conversation. I'm just here to talk with you.
Just a little chat.
Just a chat. The Dark Wizard speaks. Manwë promised you would come.
Were either of you surprised at the tone of that initially? It felt like a twist to me. I was fooled. Like I was led to believe that we had misunderstood the Dark Wizard.
I thought maybe we might.
Which I'd actually kind of preferred if we'd stuck with.
I know. I really would have too.
I actually thought it was quite... Anyway, we'll talk about it, yes.
It was interesting, though. The very first thing out of his mouth was basically to say that Manwë promised you would come. Manwë is, for those who don't know the lore, the High King. He is the greatest of the Valar. He is the most in tune with Eru Ilúvatar, the creator of all. And he is in charge. He is the highest ranking entity on Arda.
He's capo di capi.
Exactly. And of course, Manwë and the other Valar were in the, they were sort of in control of the decision to send the Istari, to send the wizards in the first place, which made the next line a little more interesting. This idea that, you're the one who convinced me to come. You're the one who convinced me to come, which doesn't actually align with the lore. Gandalf was the last one. Olorin was his name in Valinor. He was the last one, and he had to be convinced to go. So it was a little bit of an interesting twist. But we do get another cinematic callback twice, I think, when he calls him old friend.
Old friend.
How did that hit you?
I was still at this point hoping it was a blue wizard.
I love that. I love it. We have two totally different opinions. Some people are like, oh, you guys are too hard. You guys are too soft. Here I've got two totally different opinions. I groaned, which is actually what I did, because it felt like, okay, it's Saruman. I mean, the old friend line makes it Saruman.
It was extremely Saruman coded, and it's interesting that they didn't reveal for sure that it is Saruman.
They didn't give us his name. Yeah,
they didn't give us his name, which is interesting because there was a moment where we thought we were going to get it.
I did too.
There's another case of that with Addar coming up.
Oh my goodness! Yes,
but in this case, I think I was just being extremely generous at that moment. We'd just come off this amazing Khazad-dûm scene. I'm like, wow, this is the best show ever, and then we get to Thrune, which has been my least favorite part of this season. And I think I was just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I was excited by all of a sudden this idea that the Dark Wizard, this might all be part of it. This is I knew at this point that it was Gandalf.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I was still hoping that maybe it was a blue wizard. But I agree. It was incredibly Saruman coded.
Yeah.
I was just still hopeful that maybe that was a little bit of misdirection.
Yeah, I can see that, because I was optimistic when we got the shot of him walking in. I thought, okay, I like the tone they're setting for this. It's kind of quiet, it's kind of spooky, and we know that the Dark Wizard has already said to the Galadrim, "I'll take care of him." So I think my thought was, okay, this is going to be good. And when he says Manwë, I'm like, all right, cool, they're digging deep into the lore. Yeah. So let's see what they have to say. But then.
So I don't know if you want to talk about it now or a little later, but my big question after all this is the continuity problem that we now have if it's Saruman.
It's a massive continuity problem. This is one we've actually mentioned. This is why I groaned. Yeah. Because, as you said, James, it's really Saruman coded. I mean, harking back to the Jackson line, my old friend. But
and what he looks like and the staff that he holds and everything about him.
But if this is Saruman, we now have a serious continuity problem, because at the beginning of The Lord of the Rings, Gandalf is still part of the White Council, which Saruman leads.
Yeah. Right.
And he still trusts Saruman.
Yes.
Why would he trust Saruman? Why would Saruman be the leader of the White Council? And he's been the leader of the White Council for quite some time at that point in the Third Age.
Yeah.
Why would this be so? If way back in the Second Age, why would Saruman show himself to Gandalf as being on the wrong side?
And can I just say, it's not just a continuity problem with the books, it's a continuity problem with the Peter Jackson Hobbit film. Or even the Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings
Hobbit
films.
And Lord of the Rings films, absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
So,
So maybe they are trying to build him up, James, as a blue. You're right. There is that chance,
I really
even though
hope
it is Saruman encoded. If they make him a blue, the interesting thing they could go with, now we know from the lore that the Witch King was a man. He was a powerful sorcerer, and he put on the ring and became. What if though this guy ends up being the Witch King? He's a blue, and they turn one of the blues into the Witch King.
That would be fun.
That's okay. I mean, it's a stretch, but it's not terribly.
Much better than him being Saruman.
Note, we did get told in this episode that the Galdrim were former kings.
Yes. I know. I thought the same thing.
Which could be a setup for them getting some rings.
Yeah, for one of them, certainly. Maybe we'll find out one of them is named Kamul.
Right,
I mean, that wouldn't be a shock, right?
Yeah.
No.
So we'll see. We'll see. I am going to hold out hope that it isn't, but it sure feels like Saruman, right? I mean,
it does.
Friend. It's
yeah, I really hope that they've deliberately done that to shove us off the path.
Which they have done repeatedly, right? They have done things
that
to make
kind
us
of,
think
yes.
A when it's really B. Yeah,
I mean, that kind of misdirection, once we get the real answer, I can enjoy that. But if this isn't actually misdirection and it's them pointing to Saruman, I'm actually going to be a bit disappointed with that.
And that's the struggle, because you never know which way they're going. I mean, all of season 1, I kept thinking, well, Halbrand's really not Sauron because it's too obvious. Mm-hmm. They weren't doing enough misdirection, and I expected the misdirection because of the stranger and all of that. And so it's kind of like, oh no, that's too on the nose. It won't be him. And then of course it was him. So you're like, okay, I guess they're always doing the obvious thing. But then they're not always doing the obvious thing.
No.
So we do get a reminder of the number of the Astari who came. We are as kin. 5 of us there were, and that's accurate. None of us could ever hope to defeat Sauron alone. That's also true. That's why they sent 5, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The idea being that they would take all 5. Of course, Radagast goes off and just becomes a hippie. Annatar and Palando, the blues, just go off and, I don't know, start a cult somewhere in the east. And then Saruman, of course, turns dark, so Gandalf has to be amplified into Gandalf the White to do the job. But he's right. None of us could ever hope to defeat Sauron alone.
That's what you get when you send 5 men.
Oh! I'm sure all we needed was Nienna. She could just drown him in her tears.
Absolutely.
So the stranger, asks him basically, I understand you want to ally yourself with Sauron, though, right? I mean, it's interesting the Dark Wizard doesn't even respond to that. He doesn't even answer that question. He just changes
he's a real
the
politician.
Oh, he is. Yeah. Instead, you came here seeking answers, and we're gonna get those answers. You're gonna get your past. You're gonna get your name. You're gonna get your staff. But you got to follow me. That's again very Saruman coded, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is. I'm the one who's. It all comes through me. I'm the source of power. I'm the source of authority. But then, of course, the drama hits, right? That's when, I came here to save my friends. And, these friends, the ones that are at knife point by my little thug buddies who I'm about to betray.
And then he tries to pretend to be nice. Like, I told you not to harm them. Yeah. I didn't believe that.
Neither did I.
Do we find out what he'd promised the Galdrim? We don't,
Not
do we?
yet.
That's
Not
still
yet.
a mystery. So
Not
that
yet.
suggests we're going to continue this storyline.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, we definitely will.
Yeah.
I still, I don't know. I mean, there's, because of Gaurhoth, I keep wanting to feel like there's some sort of werewolves that they have to be.
Why are they wearing masks? What was done to them? What was done to them that they need to wear masks? That's still a mystery that's going to need to be resolved.
And it's something that Saruman or the Blue or whatever, that the Dark Wizard did to them that he can undo.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, he's like, I was a fool to trust such low company, right? And, he betrays the Galdrim immediately. I mean, he's clearly been using them this entire time. And, he kills the one guy. I mean, we see the body roll over and all that blood from what's clearly like a crushed skull. Instead of killing the hobbits, the other one just says, let's go, and runs.
Yeah. Which makes me wonder how they're going to pick up this story again.
Yeah. Revenge against the Dark Wizard for killing their leader.
Maybe if they are going to be ring bearers of sorts, we do need to find out a bit more about them.
We do.
And why they want the rings and what they're going to do with them and so on. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously we have that, dramatic reunion scene that, with the knife point and all of that. But once they're, no longer a threat, once the Galdrim are gone, I really liked the question that the Dark Wizard asked the hobbits, and I loved how quickly Nori answered. Did you pity those who had their knives at your throat? And Nori doesn't even hesitate. She says, yes.
Yep.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I found like that really jibes with what we know from Tolkien and his understanding of pity and what we see. She's got a deep grasp here, the necessity of pity even for those who have harmed you or could harm you.
I love the fact that Nori has been the one who's been most connected to the stranger.
Yes.
Who is revealed later to be Gandalf, spoilers.
Yeah.
And of course, Gandalf is the pupil of Nienna.
exactly.
And so we get these connections. The fact that Nori feels that pity, genuinely feels that pity, I think helps us to understand that connection that she has with the stranger.
I agree. Yeah, that's a very good point. Also, I want to amplify what you said about Gandalf being a student of Nienna, not a student of Tom Bombadil. But anyway, we digress.
We'll come to that.
Typically, again, Saruman coded, right? The Dark Wizard's response to this, yes, I did feel pity, is that pity isn't going to do the job. Pity will not defeat Sauron. And yet we know it is exactly pity that defeats Sauron.
Exactly.
Indeed.
So again, I love that because that's such an illustration, if it is Saruman, of a really good understanding of the later Saruman. And yes, that does introduce the problem of continuity. But I just... this idea that we need to, it's almost the Boromir problem too, really. It's this, there's only one way to defeat this strength, and it's with greater strength. And Nori's pointing out, yes, I feel sorry for, I have pity for this guy. And pity's not going to defeat Sauron, but we all know it absolutely will.
And that also relates to the Celebrimbor lesson that Galadriel picks up on as well.
I was going to mention that if you didn't.
Yeah, exactly. That it's that idea that you don't fight strength with strength. You fight it with lightness and hope and pity and all
which
of those.
Is absolutely at the core of Tolkien's novel, isn't it?
That does show an understanding of the core of the original. We'll come back to that test that so letter 210, we've talked about this a few times, right? Tolkien's writing to Forrest J. Ackerman about the Morton Zimmerman plot storyline. And he says that the canons of narrative art cannot be wholly different. Okay. Then later on, he says that the failure of poor films is often an exaggeration due to not understanding where the core of the original lies.
Right.
And so Tom Shippey takes those two quotes and builds this little test that I love to use, which is first is the change in the adaptation necessary to the change in medium. And then second, really independent of it, because yes, it might be necessary, but if it really guts the core of the original, you better find another solution. But the other question is, does it show an understanding of the core of the original? And I think here, that line about pity not defeating Sauron, coming from somebody who we know to be wrong, is a really great line because we know it is. And not only does it tie in with that light defeating strength, it ties in with what we see later with Celebrimbor telling Annatar, I foresee that one ring will be your downfall.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And we'll get to that threat because that was a fantastic.
We'll get to the Celebrimbor speech. Yes.
I love that. All right. So the follow-up about defeating Sauron, that's when the stranger really kind of, the rubber meets the road here, right? Do you want to defeat Sauron or do you want to succeed him? And again, we get the Saruman coded line, in time we will both be his successors. It totally brings us back to the Jackson film and the idea of, together we can basically take over for his role. I almost want him to say, when the stranger rejects him, I want him to hear him say, "You have chosen the way of pain." He basically does. He shatters the mountainside, right? He starts raining debris down on the stores.
Well, at least he doesn't whip him around in some kind of
I was waiting
fight,
for that. I was seriously waiting for the invisible rope to be swinging Gandalf around, or Grandalf, as the case may be. So, he's like, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm going to kill everybody you care about here, and maybe that will show you that if you don't, get rid of your pity and just grow a pair and get strong and decide you're going to kill this Sauron guy,
toxic masculinity.
It's toxic masculinity. Absolutely.
Right?
Your pity is pathetic. Look at what's going to happen with your pity. I'm going to kill everybody.
Yes. I'm an alpha wizard. This is how we behave.
I'm an alpha wizard. I love it. Stranger's so beta, man.
Lord, what nonsense.
I know, total nonsense. But again, it's Saruman coded, really. That's all that's trying to do for us. I don't know if it's doing it to deceive us like other lines have done, or whether it's doing it to broadcast us the fact that it is Saruman. But for now, certainly it looks like that's who it is. So the stranger he may not be able to stop the Dark Wizard from breaking the mountainside, but he does manage to stop the debris from falling, enabling folks to leave, most of them at least, to leave safely. And I have to say, when it reveals the stars above, that was a nice little shot. It was the stars that he'd been looking for from the very beginning.
Yep.
That was really neat. Yep. Very cool touch, because now, of course, he's going to, as we'll see later on, find his staff as a result of that.
And the stars are revealed at a moment where he shows his pity and where he uses the strength he has to save others.
Exactly.
And this is really important, isn't it? Rather than just, stumbling over some hill and going, oh, there's the strange stars I've been looking for. He shows the pity.
Yes.
He throws himself in the way of the boulders, which would kill the stars. And the stars are revealed to him.
Yeah. I absolutely love that particular moment. It may have been a little too Saruman coded for me, but I liked how that particular moment ended. Of course, we come back to this scene later in the episode, or to this location, and of course the Stour village is wrecked because the rocks had to go somewhere. And Nori talks about fixing it, and we get this voiceover from Poppy that I really liked. I don't know. Did you feel like this is sort of it was late enough in the episode that it almost felt like we're just tying all the things together?
Yeah.
I love the fact that it's Poppy's voice.
Yes.
She's so often underestimated, put to one side, not thought of, and yet she shows some wisdom here that is really important.
I remember in my head, but I couldn't find it. I went back to a couple episodes in season 1. Was there a similar moment where she was speaking? I think she was talking about the Wandering Days, and we were seeing other shots. I'm almost in my head that she's done this, but I could not remember, and I may be imagining it.
It's been 2 whole years since season 1, and I don't remember. Because I'm old, remember? I'm old, and I can't hold these things in my mind.
Oh, goodness. So it really is a nice set of lines that they've given Poppy. And like you said, Sarah, she's often very underestimated. Some things can't be fixed. Some things are lost forever. And we see that, or we hear that as we see the grieving dwarves at King Durin's throne, the draped in black and clearly this period of mourning. And then we get the no matter how hard we fight, and it cuts to Eregion burning as Elrond's leading the refugees away. And I thought that was really a great conflict.
Yes.
Not conflict, contrast, I should
Contrast,
say.
yeah.
No matter how hard we fight, and here he is leading the refugees away. There's defeat here.
Retreat, full retreat.
Yes, this total reminder that no matter how hard we fight, this might happen. She doesn't say that part, just no matter how hard we fight.
Well, can I also just point out, she's telling a story that she heard from Sadok. Sadok is the person who, against so much of what we're going to see in this show, knew when it was time to die, when it was time to say goodbye.
Which is going to be really important if we get the death narrative in Númenor.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
So I think we're getting a reminder of it here even, right?
Yeah. We are.
We're getting this story told as we're seeing the grieving Durin and Disa and the dwarves. And also the defeat of Eregion, just that sort of coming to terms with these sorts of things that we saw that in Sadok before anyone else, right? There are a group of people that haven't learned that lesson, the Númenorians. And then we've got Sadok, who seem to have worked it all out.
That's a very good point.
What I love about what Poppy's doing here, giving us Sadok's wisdom, is that this is I think it's a great illustration of the idea of Hobbit collective memory. This is how they share memory, by passing it down in this way through oral tradition. Yes, some things are written, and, as they go much, much later, thousands of years later, that, they do write some things down, but it's a shared memory, a collective memory. We've seen that being done through song. We've seen it being done through acts of remembrance.
Yeah.
And now we see it being done through acts of passing on wisdom to others. And this is very Hobbity. So I really like this idea. And we've seen some of this being illustrated, of course, in season 1, like I said, with the walking songs and the acts of remembrance. But this, I think, just sort of solidifies that there are voices within the Harfoot community that will pass on the wisdom of the elders. And that's how it's maintained. I just love that.
You too. That's a very good catch. I mean, it is very Hobbity. And the idea that now that wisdom can be passed on to the Stours as well. And one imagines next season we'll get the Falahides. And, eventually they'll arrive at Suzat. I refuse to call it the Suzat.
For grammatical reasons.
The Shire. But yeah, this really was a nice, well-written, well-executed, well-edited sequence with the voiceover and the cuts. I really thought it was nicely done. Because then we get how much it hurts, and we get Theo at Pelargir, and you just are reminded of the loss that he's endured. And then it's kind of spoiling this line because we haven't gotten to the Pelargir line, or how much our hearts yearn to put them back together. And that's the moment that we see Estrid watching Isildur sail away.
Right.
But also Hagen taking her hand again. Like,
yes, it's tough because he hasn't. It's not that he's done anything wrong.
no, I got to give props to Hagen. He impressed the heck out of me when we get to the Pelargir line.
Yeah, we can talk more about that when we get to that. But yeah,
this world's so much bigger than any of us. That's when Isildur is looking back in sorrow, sort of as he's about to find out how big the world is. The long trip to Númenor, and the winds blowing against us. Sometimes they're just too strong, and that's when we cut to that really powerful scene of Miriel standing bound, arms in fetters as she stands before Pharazôn. And you just, what is going to happen here? I think what's going to happen is he's going to force her to marry him, because that's the lore. I mean, I wish we'd find out that they were first cousins, because that would make it at least even more lore.
They have mentioned the cousin relationship.
I'd forgotten
yes,
that.
They have.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, and it'll get mentioned then again if he does try to force that. She'll be like, you can't, I'm your first cousin. And it's going to be like, well, too bad, I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, the answer, my friend, is blowing in that wind.
It sure is. And then as we get that moment from Elendil's vision, right, that he saw in the Palantir of himself on horseback.
Now we get the context.
Burning city. We get that moment in reality. As Poppy is saying, we've just got to accept it. What's broke is broke and won't fix. Now, the irony in all of this is Sadok is just talking about that dude's ankle.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's literally what he's telling her. And yet there's all this wisdom packed in there that's applicable in all these other areas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's amazing how we could talk about any one of these.
Yeah.
In the montage in great detail.
We could. I know if we had all day, we absolutely would too.
Yeah. Because I mean, I'm just thinking about, reflecting on the Elendil escaping from Amenelos. Just that what's broke is broke and won't fix.
Man, that line alone we could spend a long time on.
Elendil's realization that's true of Númenor.
It is true of Númenor now. And it will not be fixed. And he knows that all he can do is try to not even slow down the fall, but to rescue the good things before the fall. In this case, after Isildur comes back, obviously he's going to have to go and get a sapling from the white tree. I cannot wait for that moment. Isildur becoming the man that we know he is.
Yep. I'm still hoping for an Arion.
Well, we're going to get him.
Oh. Are we definitely going to get? I mean, he's been mentioned.
Well, I mean, we'll come to that when we get to that scene. But I'm 100% convinced that one of the major casting announcements in the next year or so, 18 months, is going to be who's going to be playing an Arion.
If I'm still alive to see it.
Yes.
And then we get the most ominous of the elements in the montage. And all anybody can do is try and build something new.
Ooh, yes.
And it's not Rivendell where Elrond's going to build the last homely house. It's not Theo trying to build a home in Pelargir. It's Annatar with Feanor's hammer in his hand. Oh, man, that was good.
But this was a twist. So, I've been saying all along, Chekhov's hammer, right, that they're setting it up. I was so convinced that he was going to use it to kill Celebrimbor, which didn't turn out to happen. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
This is in some ways even better. This idea that Feanor's hammer might be what's used to make the One Ring.
Of using Feanor's hammer to...
That would be delicious.
Yeah.
And what do you mean
I'm convinced
it's not Chekhov's hammer? It's mine, says Feanor.
That is good. I really, really did like that. The rich irony of using the same tool that helped craft the Silmarils to craft the One Ring.
After all, the Silmarils did actually cause great evil.
They did. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep. I mean, everything from the Oath to all of the terrible things that happen. I mean, there's so many, the kinslayings and all of this. Anyway, just a fantastic sequence. And of course, we had to, maybe I should have put that as its own standalone sequence. And if it had ended the show, I probably would have. But really, it is her talking. So I put it in the Rune / Hobbit storyline. And after that, that's as the Stoors are preparing to leave. And we get this moment, we just talked about no matter how hard we fight, how much it hurts, how much our hearts yearn to put them back together. Now it's time for the stranger and Nori and Poppy to part ways. He's going in a different direction, right? Nori and Poppy are going to be trying to help the Stoors. That's what they know to be the right thing. That is their place. That is their role.
Yep. Yeah, well, they are traveling people, those two. So, they know how to move from place to place. Yeah. The Stoors don't.
No.
They've been in one spot.
Right. They don't even know how to pack.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what to take or leave. Yeah, I thought that was really good.
That's a really good point.
I did like the irony, the sort of tongue-in-cheek Poppy telling him, don't be a stranger
Don't be a stranger now.
That was cute. But it's followed immediately by the cringy moment of Grandelf, which just made my eyes roll audibly.
Yes, not the first time they've called him Grand Elf, but yes, we got it a couple of times.
Still groaning, yeah.
It was very groaning because we know what's coming.
I know. So yeah, the what to take, what to leave line comes, and now it's time to part ways, Nori walking her path and Grandelf to walk his.
But he's not even an elf.
Well, they explain that. They have to explain that. We don't know what an elf looks like. Yeah, it's silly. It's just, I don't know.
It was a little silly.
Folk etymology to the max.
And yet Gandalf is, of course, the elf of the wand. That's because men thought he was an elf because he didn't age.
Right, that's true.
Right?
That is legitimate
fits.
in that point, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're not that different, right? We're very different people, you and I. No, we actually aren't. And I do like the turn. It was very, again, a little Jackson-esque. It would have been more Jackson-esque if they'd done a dramatic close-up on her face as she was crying, very Frodo-esque. But it did feel like that. I sort of got that as she's turning with tears in her eyes and a little bit of a smile on her face. You're like, oh, that's Frodo. But it was well done. It was also moving. And of course, immediately, Gandalf finds his staff. And it looks precisely, like, exactly down to the twisted bits of the wood. Exactly like the one we see him use in the early part of the film set. Because, of course, when he comes back as Gandalf the White, he's got an entirely different staff.
Right.
But the one
much fancier one.
Stuff, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was... if you weren't sure yet...
it was pretty dashed
callback.
Obvious. Yes.
And I will say, though, that is a cinematic callback that works, right? His staff, we want that visual continuity. It's like the Balrog.
Well, we were talking last episode, weren't we, about the fact that we were actually talking about these callbacks to the Jackson film. We were saying that sometimes we need things that are shortcuts to understanding because we only have 1 hour. Yeah, this is a perfect shortcut to understanding in that the vast majority of people watching Rings of Power will have watched the Jackson films,
of course,
and will instantly recognize the first Gandalf staff as opposed to the Art Deco one he gets later on.
Yeah, that's true. It took me a little while to remember what that second one looked like. It's certainly a lot more formal, a lot less found in nature sort of thing. Yes. But yeah, this one, everybody remembers that moment where he's sort of blowing on the crystal in Moria to sort of light it up,
Yep.
Yes, and then he keeps his pipe in it as well because he's got a little slot for his pipe.
Yeah, exactly. I do like that. So coming back to this thread, right, we cut to night. He's walking the desert and we knew he's heading back to Tom. I just want to give a little quick shout out to whoever's doing the little props because Tom's little hedgehog teapot is so cute. I want one.
They should sell them. There's so many merchandising opportunities. Like
that hedgehog teapot was awesome, wasn't it?
Can I also just say
Star of the show.
The one thing I want to give them about the Tom Bombadil part of this is that, and I think I mentioned this before, this just gives a whole new meaning to Gandalf wanting to go visit Tom Bombadil.
Yes, it does. It does do that. That is fair.
Because you can imagine, right, in light of this, if this is how it went down originally, the fact that at the end of all things, at the end of the Lord of the Rings, what Gandalf wants to do is spend some more time with Tom Bombadil. Yeah. I just think that's... I wonder if that's really kind of what the inspiration was.
That might be.
In other words, it's not so much the Frodo and the hobbits with Tom Bombadil as that idea that at the end Gandalf wanted to visit Tom Bombadil. That's really the vibe that they're wanting to pick up on.
I do like that.
And I do actually like that, this idea. That,
I do. Because remember because you and I were the ones that we went through many partings last year on the PPP.
Exactly.
And we talked about like what would their conversation have been? Now we can have some more speculation, some ideas.
Right, because it's this beautiful arc, right? That Tom Bombadil was there at the beginning when he found out who he was, at least who he was going to be in Middle-earth, got his staff, his name and everything, and sort of decides the importance of pity and how that's going to play into defeating Sauron. And then at the very end of it, when Sauron is defeated, and pity was a big part of that.
Job done.
Job done. I'm going to go back and visit Tom Bombadil. Yeah. So I do like that. That is the one thing I'll give them. That is a really nice tie-in to the books. Yeah, because that's something that's not in the Peter Jackson film, right? That, obviously Tom Bombadil's not there at all.
Tom is right. Yeah,
but so I'll give them that.
I think we have to. I think that's a fair point. And Tom, of course, as we sort of hoped would be the case, this idea of some who die deserve life, can you
Right.
give it to them? We didn't like that at the time. And of course, without the context, I still wouldn't like that because I still, even now, I don't really like it because it's a callback to something that didn't fit. But
Well, my
at
problem
least
is
it was not what we thought it was.
So, I mean, I'll admit that I got it wrong, right? I fell for the trick. I believed that Tom was genuinely thinking that. However, my problem at the time was even when people said, "Oh, it was just a test," he meant the opposite. My response to that is not Tom. Tom's the wrong person to be doing that.
Tom wouldn't do that. Correct. That's correct.
I mean, it's a sucktastic test, but also it is not Bombadil.
It's not a Bombadilian test. Yes.
It's not Bombadilian.
No, Tom would not do this as a test. He just wouldn't. And I still feel that way, which is why this still bugs me. But at least we were wrong. And, like you said, I'm willing to admit we were wrong. I fell for that too. And the fact is, it still doesn't make it any better because, like you said, it's just not a Tom test.
Right.
But at least it was not really what he was trying to convey. He was not really trying to say you're going to have to let your friends die in order to defeat Sauron. You were supposed to choose friendship over power. And yeah, of course, that's Tom. Tom would choose friendship over power. But the thing is, he would never actually put anybody else in the position of trying to make
it
the
wouldn't
wrong
occur to him.
choice.
This is not something that Tom would do.
Because the last thing he'd want is for those friends to die because the guy chose power. That's not what Tom wants.
I know. That's why I think it's, apart from the fact it's not very Bombadilian, it's also a really sucktastic test. Why? Why are you doing that? It didn't make sense. But yes, you're right. We were wrong. Frame the moment.
Yeah, that's
We're
right.
not even going to whine about it. We're actually saying we were wrong.
That's correct. And then, of course, we get, the kind of the closing of that scene, which is basically that a wizard doesn't find his staff. It finds him, just like his name finds him, because that's when he's like, oh, they're going to call me Gandalf. And bingo, we knew that. They've been telegraphing that for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Bingo is not his name-o. Bingo is actually the early name for Frodo.
So, can I just say, though, in light of our discussion last week about names, that in the context of Gandalf, it was again made clear this is what they are going to call me.
Yeah. And it's only what some people are going to call you. Because other people are going to call you Mithrandir, and other people are going to call you Tharkun, and other people are going to call you...
Can I just say again, though, that I was reminded during this scene that my biggest problem with the Tom Bombadil character is that he just seemed pissed off all the time.
He did kind of seem angry.
All through this, it was again in this scene as well. Tom looked angry. He looked mad. He looked, it just, it could have been different.
I wanted a bit more tra-la-la-lally out of our Bombadil,
Yes. Yeah.
Once the song began, it was a little better, That was
But it was still kind of, it's a lovely version of the song, but it's a little mournful.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Can we not kick it up, have a few banjos in the background, a bit of foot tapping going on? It's a little bit
It's a little slow.
sad.
Yeah, you're right. There's a little bit of a somberness to it. I suppose in a way that's because they wanted to give us that visual transition from their singing to the Dark Wizard, who I still think is so heavily Saruman coded, it's going to be hard to make him anybody else. What do you think was going on in his mind there? And obviously they're foreboding something for season 3.
Right.
Let's make our prediction now.
I don't know, because this is I think if you look at what they've set up, they seem to have set up the Gaudrim now potentially being in opposition to the Dark Wizard.
That the Dark Wizard could be standing alone. Yeah.
I don't know what the Dark Wizard's motivation is at all. What is the Dark Wizard trying to do? Is the Dark Wizard still trying to defeat Sauron?
Gain enough power to succeed Sauron, to defeat and take the place of Sauron. Right? That's what he told Gandalf that he wants to do. Hey, come join me and we will both succeed Sauron.
So if they're going to go with that, and we also now have these Gaudrim who seem to have had something done to them by the Dark Wizard, they're now not particularly happy
they feel
with
betrayed, right? He killed their leader.
I think we could definitely get Sauron going east and confronting the Dark Wizard and the Gaudrim.
And maybe handing him a shiny ring.
Handing him some shiny rings. Yeah, I think you're right.
That's the only thing I can think that they could be setting.
Okay, so I have a question here, all right?
Fire
And this
away.
is my own confusion.
Okay.
It's my age.
That's never going to get old.
The confusion is this. At the start of season 2, we see Proto-Sauron stabbed and become goop.
Yep.
He becomes squid ink pasta Sauron.
Yep.
And we know from the formation of stalactites and stalagmites, we're talking about a very long time in which he's goop.
Yes. Yeah.
And then he becomes ungooped because he
Yep.
becomes Halbrand.
Right.
Yep.
And Halbrand gets on a boat and then ends up in Númenor and then various things.
Right.
How does the Dark Wizard know that Sauron is doing anything? That Sauron is actually even there? Because Sauron has been gone for a very, very long time. I mean, has news really reached Rune about Sauron? I know that in season 1 we did have the acolytes, or whatever we're going to call them, looking for Sauron.
Yeah.
But it just seems kind of strange because we've had Sauron be goop for what looks like millennia.
Actually, you bring up another question that I have is, can we go back to the acolytes in season 1 and what their purpose was, what they were trying to do? Because in light of everything we've now learnt in this season.
Right.
So were they sent by the Dark Wizard to find Gandalf or to find Sauron?
They thought it was Sauron, remember?
They thought it was Sauron, but does that make sense anymore in light of, like we had that scene earlier in this season where through the blood of one of the other acolytes, the Dark Wizard is able to bring back the Dweller.
Yeah.
And I was under the impression that they were trying to find Sauron then, because that's... Yeah.
They literally thought that the stranger was Sauron.
But how do they know Sauron's out and about? He's not actually been back in the world for very long.
And that's where we come into a problem with the timeline and the lore stuff, because we do know that when the wizards actually did show up and get sent in Third Age 1000, it was because the Valar knew that Sauron was on the rise and they needed to send opposition to the threat.
Right. But that's much later rise of Sauron, yeah.
However, if what the Dark Wizard tells Gandalf is remotely accurate, and it does, I get the feeling that he's always going to be scattering in truth with his lies. Manwë said you would come. Okay, that conveys to me a similar purpose for sending, that Manwë knew that Sauron was coming. So in other words, maybe the Dark Wizard doesn't know that Sauron's actually active. He doesn't know that he is currently doing things, but he knows he's about to because Manwë sent him. Right. So he's just, in this case, relying, and again, I'm probably just playing devil's advocate here. He's relying on Manwë and the Valar's knowledge or foreknowledge of Sauron's rise, which is, of course, what caused them to send the Dark Wizard and the other Istari here. And therefore, he knows Sauron's on the rise. He doesn't know anything about him. He doesn't know that he's been gooped. He doesn't know that he's been ungooped. And he's got his acolytes out there looking for him. And that's as far as we get. He may not know any more than that.
And it does seem then that the Dark Wizard has been in Rune a heck of a lot longer than the stranger has been in Middle-earth.
Yes, a lot longer. A lot longer.
Which also seems a little odd, but then,
Whatever.
I mean, he definitely has been, because didn't we see the acolytes at the place where the stranger crashed? Like just shortly after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not on the day, but, shortly after. Yeah.
I mean, the five Istari didn't all go to Middle-earth at all exactly the same time, did they? So
no, the text just says around Third Age 1000 they were sent. And we do know that Gandalf was the last to arrive.
Right.
And of course that he arrived at the Grey Havens, not in a meteor.
So presumably by boat, yes.
Yeah. Not by meteor? Yeah, probably not. Speaking of arriving in the Grey Havens, I know our next segment is Númenor. Can I just throw out a general complaint? Where the hell is Círdan? Why did you bring in one of the best actors of our day, give him 10 minutes of screen time, and send him on his way?
Yeah, we wanted more Círdan.
I want more Círdan. But anyway, let's move on to the third storyline that showed up, and that is the storyline of Númenor, where I have to say they handled a little better than I thought they would. I wasn't sure where they were going with this, but I was relatively impressed.
Again, this was an amazing example where last week we were thinking, are they going to cover all of the storylines? What are they going to do? We talked about which ones they could drop.
Right. Oh, they'll drop this or they'll drop that. And
they've covered all of them, and I think really well. It didn't feel forced.
Pacing was good. It didn't. If somebody had said they're going to cover all the storylines, like, oh wow, it's going to be like an hour 40 long episode, and it wasn't. It was what, an hour 5?
Yeah. And as I said, it didn't seem rushed.
But I think the fact that they brought in the Pelargir thing allowed them to extend the Númenor thing.
Yes, 100%.
As we'll see when we get to Pelargir.
Yeah. So in the Númenor scene, we start with Eärien summoning the leaders of the faithful. Right? She's ringing that bell. It's the faithful bell, and all the faithful come like lemmings because they trust Eärien.
The multi got a lot of things going on.
Oh, yes.
Exactly. You're an architect, but you're also, an authority who can say that all these people have lost their rank, and you're also a bell ringer and can summon them. We just need somebody to ring the bell. So the faithful all show up, and in a move that surprises absolutely no one, our Pharazôn accuses Miriel of allying herself with Sauron. Again, of course he does.
So we wondered how they were going to do that, right? Because obviously we sort of had the turn with the sea monster. It was like, now all of a sudden Miriel is back as queen. But no, that didn't last long.
That only happened because she deceived the Valar, and she could only do that because she allied herself with Sauron. He's a really good politician. I got to give him that. I mean, he can take what absolutely looks like a defeat and turn it into, a way to crush his opposition.
And presumably that idea came about because Pharazôn saw Halbrand in the Palantir. Right. There's a connection there.
100%.
Like, I've realized now that Halbrand is Sauron.
Yeah. And he's ticked about it too.
Yeah.
Furious at having been duped, I would imagine.
Yeah. Which might be the motivation that he needs to go and capture him next season to bring him back to
If you think about it from Pharazôn's point of view, he now knows Sauron shows up with Galadriel, Miriel supports them, and goes off and fights a battle with Sauron.
Yeah.
So he's not...
From his perspective, he's right.
He's completely legitimized in some of what he's doing.
Yeah. From his limited perspective, absolutely. Of course, this claim that Miriel has allied herself with Sauron is, rejected by the faithful as the nonsense that it is, though.
It isn't really. Just accidentally.
So they are immediately declared persona non grata. You are traitors of Westernesse, and the purge, capital P, begins. And it is, they could have done a little bit more with this to make it more dramatic. It felt a little small scale. Again, we've talked about that, how there's either big shots or there's little shots. And this is another one of those sequences where it felt like I'm getting a lot of little shots. I'm not getting that mid-range that feels like it's more than just this set where this is happening.
Yeah. We may get more still.
I know, I'm hoping so. But, it's getting pretty aggressive. The guards are going into homes. And now I'm thinking of my poor loyal webmaster, Phil, who was an extra in season 1 as a Númenorian guard. And he's like, man, that could have been me.
Yeah, exactly. If they hadn't have moved the production, he would have been the guy that Arian had to say, move along.
Do I need to tell Pharazôn of your insolence?
Yes.
Yeah, they start going into homes. They're taking people captive. They're beating them. The guards are taking the leaders away as Arian finally escapes to go and tell her father. And I did love that as that's happening, we get a cut to looking down on the tree, and the tree is really shedding its leaves at this point, right? Calling back to that moment in season 1. We know visually this is a very bad thing that's happening.
Yeah, when the blossoms flying all over.
Right.
Then we know that's
the
bad.
Valar are saying, wrong, you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Change
Turn
direction
back.
now.
Yep.
Turn back.
Thanks for playing.
Yeah. I am so looking forward to the arrival of the eagles of the West in the clouds, like the shape of the eagles coming.
That could be a glorious visual.
The actual downfall is going to be awesome.
Yep.
Also tear-jerking, of course, because if they do what I hope they do and have Miriel trying to climb the Menel Tarma at the end, I will be crying for sure. Yeah.
So I guess it turns out she did not regain her sight after the sea monster.
I was so disappointed by that.
I'm a bit disappointed by that.
I was. I guess the sea monster was just a monster after all. So Arian does get to her father just in time, shoos the guard away, right? Interestingly, in that time where she's having to confront the guard, like, do I have to tell Pharazôn of your insolence? I'm like, was he really being insolent? He was just looking at you. He was just like, are there any faithful there? No, go away.
Yeah, she's a little suspicious.
She's acting now. I'm like, you're acting. Yeah, exactly. Thou doth protest too much. I'm going to check. But in the time that she's having that confrontation, Elendil escapes. He's out. He's like, I'm not wasting any time. And he ends up with Miriel, who, like we just sadly observed, is still blind, very much to our great disappointment. And of course, his intent is to escape with her, right? This is, of course, I mean, clearly we not only see that he, venerates her as his queen, but he clearly has a personal connection to her as well. He deeply cares for her. I'm not going to save my own skin if yours is in jeopardy. And I love the way, again, his dialogue is really good. I did like the way that was written. But she's like, no, my place is here. And that's when I do have to admit that the existence of this scene did feel a little forced, like it almost is a non sequitur.
The giving of the Narsil reveal.
I liked the Narsil reveal itself. I just didn't, the context was weird. Like,
yes, agreed.
Oh, you're going to go, oh, by the way, take this. This is Narsil. It's one of those things, though, that because There's nothing about this in the story, in the actual lore, like what happened with Narsil. It's not a big deal that she fits it in here, right? That
Right. It works. It works for me.
Because we only know that it was made in the first age by Telkar, so presumably in Nogrod. But there's nothing about it after that until it shows up in Elendil's hands. So they can make something up, and I'm fine with that. I am going to do a little word nerdery, though, folks. So this is like a PPP bit here, because Narsil is translated for us by Elendil as white flame. Tolkien, in his unpublished index, actually says it means red and white flame. I'm not going to quibble about that, but I want to point out why it's called that. So Nar is fire, as in Anar, which is Quenya for sun. The Sindarin cognate is Anor, as in Anorian. Anar is in Anarian, right? I mean, this is the sun. Derivatives are also seen in Feanor, spirit of fire, as well as the Samath Naur, which is the chambers of fire. The Sil element comes from the root Thil, and we see that in Galathilion and Ithildine, the moon writing. The Sil is also seen in the name of the moon itself, Isil, and in related names like Isildur and Minas Ithil. And the idea here is that the name of the sword points to both the sun and moon, both as the enemies of darkness. So I would have liked to have seen it called the flame of the sun and moon, even rather than, I get why I didn't say red and white flame, because that sounds kind of weird, but I would have loved to see that.
And I suppose flame kind of infers redness, possibly.
That's fair. Yeah.
We lose the link to the names of his sons.
Yes. That's the thing. Isildur and Anarion are part of the name Narsil.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it's just like so right there. You've got a sun named for the moon and a sun named for the sun, and you've got a sword that's named for the sun and moon. It's really, really too rich to turn down, but they kind of turned that down. A little bit of a bummer there, but not, like I said, I'm not quibbling. It's just sort of like it's like a missed opportunity.
I suppose they're just supposing that there aren't enough word nerds amongst the audience. I'm not sure that they're right. There are plenty of us that are word nerds. There are a lot of us,
yeah. And of course, I think it is also, and they made this actually very clear because of the way he pulled the sword from its sheath. It's very much a callback to the moment when Aragorn gets, the reforged Anduril in that tent, and Elrond brings it to him in that moment in the film.
Although I'm glad this Narsil isn't like 2 meters long, because I never could work out how Aragorn could even wield that sword.
You would have cut Elrond in half just pulling that sword out of its sheath.
I mean, it's a bit long, isn't it?
Yeah. So he pulls out the sword, and it's definitely a callback to that. And I think maybe that's the other reason why it's white flame, because I think all of us, a lot of the movie viewers will remember that the sword is the flame of Westernesse, right? That it's, so I think the flame bit that's why they emphasize that. But I just would have loved to have seen that tie-in with his son's names. It would have been fantastic.
Yes. It would have been cool.
Yeah, like Narsil. You mean like my son Anarion and my other son Isildur? Narsil, like that? Yeah, that'd be great.
Because is this the moment where he says he's going to go to Anarion in the West? Where's that?
Does he mention Anarion?
He mentions Anarion, or was it in the previous episode? He's mentioned Anarion.
Yeah, I don't think he mentioned him here. He might have, and if he did, it blew past me. I ended up not even putting that in my notes if he did.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the subtitles yet, but I thought he did mention Anarion, because I was going to say that's why I'm so sure we're going to see Anarion, because he says he's going west to his son Anarion.
And he is going to be going west, of course. He's got to be. He's got to be going to Andunia.
And it's not this scene?
It might be. I just don't remember. I think it was because I was focused on Miriel's lines, reclaim your lordship, and with this sword, your destiny. Also very much a callback to the Aragorn moment with Elrond and the sword. All right, James, he did actually mention Anorion. He mentioned Anarion, didn't he?
Anarion, yes, he does.
Yeah.
Because he says to Miriel that he's going to go west. Yeah. He says there are faithful there, my son Anarion among them.
That's right. Okay, good. I'm glad you caught that, because I have to say I was struggling with the audio on my particular version, and did have some issues. But I think I was also caught on the movie callback. I was like, reclaim your lordship. I'm typing out the words, reclaim your lordship, and with the sword your destiny.
Let's talk about that. But before we do, I just want to say, so this is why I think it's almost certain we're going to get casting news in the next year, 18 months about who's going to play.
Do you think they're going to try to pull a fast one on us, like they tried to talk about the other form of Sauron being played by the guy that plays the Hobbit?
Yeah, maybe. they'll announce him as, he's playing Durin's brother Bob.
Durin's brother Bob.
But he's actually playing Anarion.
Durin's other brother Nob. We're just going to have Nob and Bob be the brothers of Durin. I love it.
Can't be Bob. Bob is a hobbit.
That's right. That's right. Nob could be anybody. We don't know who Nob is. I'm still
he's probably not
convinced
a
Nob's
dwarf, though. He's
probably not a dwarf because he is a horse
probably
handler,
not
so-
Durin's brother.
Probably not Durin's brother, Bob. All right.
But I'm really glad we're going to get an Arion.
Yes.
I am too.
But let's talk about it. Tripped me up a bit too. That reclaim your lordship.
Reclaim your lordship, and with this sword, your destiny. I'm trying to remember because it's been a little while since I've watched season 1. Did he lose a lordship?
No, the only mention that's made of, he makes that funny remark. I think it's in episode 3 or something when we first meet him. That he says something like more of a petty lord or something like. He makes some offhand remark about him being sort of a minor. Lord. There's certainly been nothing to connect him to that line. We've had no setup of the fact he is actually a descendant of Elros yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the lore, he's not a petty lord. He's actually relatively important.
He's
Right.
very
Although
important.
he's distant.
Yes,
And so
but
they had
still.
you have to kind of go back and say, well, had
Silmarillion become the ruling queen.
Yes, and I'm still grumpy about that,
Yeah,
by the
I
way.
am too. Because,
So is the author of The Tale of Years. That's why they make a big point of it.
I have to say, that's one of those fun things I've been dealing with on the Prancing Pony podcast because of going through that part in the appendices. And Don and I were having this really interesting talk. Don Marshall, the obscure Lord of the Rings facts guy on TikTok, he's my co-host currently. And we were talking about what would have happened if Silmarillion had become the ruling queen. And we talked about how, was the fall going to happen eventually anyway, right? Would this only have changed the timing? Would it have been like maybe another 1,000 years before it fell? But if that's the case, then you miss out on one of those, what I call spabimmy moments, that short for shall prove but mine instrument. The fact is that the fall happening when it did is what enabled the defeat of Sauron at the end of the Second Age.
Yes.
Because if the men of Númenor are still on Númenor and they don't ally with the elves to take out Sauron, Sauron wins. Right. It's only because it's the last alliance of elves and men, and the men are the faithful, the only ones who survive the downfall.
Right.
It's only because of that they defeat Sauron.
Well, it's not just that. If you think about various kings that would not have been in the line had Silmarillion become the queen, then you wouldn't have had Minas-Tirith,
Antonimir,
and all those. So you wouldn't have had helping Gil-galad out, which is what would have. So by the way, just for
that's a very good point too. You wouldn't have had Eldarion. Eldarion would never have been the king.
Well, it's that whole sequence that there's a few kings from Eldarion onwards. If we didn't have the compressed timeline, they would have been the ones that came and helped Gil-galad.
Yes.
And the Region siege and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But none of them would have ruled had Silmarillion been the ruling queen. So,
and you don't know what they would have done. It's a really interesting what if. Like, what if that line had ruled? Because you'd think that if Elendil is king in this period, Númenor is in a much better position. But is that a better position for the whole of Middle Earth?
Yeah.
Because then what happens with I don't know. It's really interesting stuff because, of course, Silmarillion should have been the ruling queen, no doubt.
The thing I thought you were going to say, which I think is also relevant to what we're talking about now in the show, is that it's very, very clear, and I gave a talk at IMC Leeds about this last year, how much the Second Age Tale of Years has been modified to support Elendil's claim to the throne.
Yes, yes.
If you look at the story that it tells and the things it chooses to tell and not tell, that we know from elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because there's a few things inserted that aren't in the Akalabeth. They're not in, of the Rings of Power. They're not in any of the other things. They're purely there to support Elendil's claim to the throne. And so it's obviously a very Elendil-focused, this is how we justify his kingship. So it's relevant here because I think they need to start setting that up in the show.
Yeah. Elendil's not just a minor lord. He is a descendant of the lords of Andunier.
And would have been had the laws of succession changed. Yeah. They eventually did change.
Yes.
Not for entirely good reasons, but it
had
a positive effect. They were done for the right thing for the wrong reason.
Yes. Yeah.
But so hopefully we'll see some of that. I don't think we're going to see all of it. I don't think we're going to see the succession laws changing or anything like that.
No, we're not going to go from agnatic primogeniture.
I don't think there's time to insert all that kind of thing.
But I do hope we do sort of find out. Maybe Elendil doesn't know that he's actually a descendant.
Maybe in this storyline he wouldn't know.
This reveal. Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out.
Descended from Elros, that that had Silmarillion, your great grandmother, been allowed to become the ruling queen, you would yourself be king right now. Yeah.
Because when we saw him with Galadriel when they were standing right next to that tapestry of Elros and Elrond.
Oh, man.
He didn't say anything about, oh, yes, he was my great, 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 etc.
He just says, oh, you knew, I forgot, you knew him. You would have known him.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Wouldn't that blow your mind, though?
Yeah.
Somebody who is that far back in your ancestry, and you're standing next to someone who actually knew them. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. But that's a whole other digression.
And you're about to go and meet that guy's brother.
Yeah. Well, she says that. She goes, I was closer with his brother.
Closer with Elrond, yeah. All right. Well, I have to say, once again, I think we are in agreement that they did a really good job with the Númenor storyline, wrapping it up.
Oh, yeah.
And we will be wrapping this episode up after the break. All right. Well, after this, we're going to get two more storylines. The big one, of course, after spending most of episode 7 on Eregion itself, we had to wait almost 20 minutes to come back to it as the orcs begin storming through the city. Interestingly, artillery is still hitting it really, really hard. Apparently, friendly fire is not a concern for Adar.
Which I think is actually an important plot point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you might want to reconsider that. We do get these wonderful hand-to-hand combat scenes as the orcs are trashing the place. I do have to give them credit for one, I thought, amazing shot. There was this single camera shot. It starts with the orc shooting an arrow at an elf on the parapet, and then it follows the elves on the parapet as the camera comes back down around on the other side of that wall. Fantastic single camera shot.
Yes.
Is this where we get the little bit of parkour as well, where the elf comes down off the roof and then immediately gets shot?
Nice job.
Yeah, it was great. I did like
really,
that
really good. I thought I can't even imagine how complex the blocking on that was, how long it would have taken to shoot, but it was a really, really good single camera shot.
I'd love to get more behind the scenes on this sort of thing at some point.
I want like we did with the Jackson films, right? He did such a good job of giving us behind the scenes on that. Here we get a lot of, just as an aside, those little post episode, sometimes we get a little bit, mostly it's just like fluff interviews with, Felicia Day and either some cast members or showrunners or directors. And it's all useful. It's helpful stuff, but it's not the behind the scenes thing, the nitty gritty that I want to get to. Yeah.
Yeah. I want all the DVD extras.
I really do. Yeah. I mean, really watch the Jackson Lord of the Rings films and learn from what he included in those.
The extended edition stuff that's on there.
Oh,
I enjoyed that more than the films in some ways, because I loved being taken behind the scenes and shown, the man behind the curtain, if you like. I thought it was 4
brilliant. Different audio commentary tracks.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
they were great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Listen to those all the time. They're great stuff.
Oh man, I spent hours on those DVD extras.
Absolutely. I hope that they do that. I know that I did finally see confirmation that they're going to release a physical media for this. There's going to be a Blu-ray set. I just don't know how. I hope that they do something like that we get some commentary.
If they're going to release a DVD set or Blu-ray set or whatever it is, by the time in 10 years we've finished watching this damn thing.
Yeah, 4K UHD will feel like VHS by then.
Exactly, or Betamax. I shall wait to purchase it until the very end, because obviously there'll be an enormous box set of all the things, and that would be the one that I want.
You realize bringing up Betamax doesn't help the age.
I know. I was going to say the same thing.
I was leaning into it,
Showing
James.
your age.
Good for you. Good for you, Sarah.
Into it.
Wow, Sarah, you remember Betamax? I don't even remember that.
Yes.
You're really older than I am, aren't you?
I can even understand the complex connection between a cassette tape and a pencil.
Yes. Oh, I can too.
That's a very,
We're all of that generation, for sure.
We are. We're all of the generation that had to buy a special videotape rewinder so that you could watch the movie and then watch the next one while your first one is rewinding, because you got to take it back to Blockbuster.
You got to take it back rewound.
Be kind, rewind.
Man, showing our age. All right. Somebody else not showing her age is Galadriel. She's leading a few survivors out. She defends them with what I have to say is beautiful violence. She's just looking wonderfully Morvith, doing the fantastic Galadriel things. And we cut to their apparent escape, only to find that it's no escape at all. They are surrounded by orcs. They've clearly found that hidden tunnel that she's mentioned before, the dwarven tunnel under the city. And immediately, it looks like they're all going to get wiped out. And she offers to exchange herself And I was really surprised she did this part, that she revealed the existence and that she had them, the 9, to just a run-of-the-mill orc. I get why she's saying, your leader wants me. Why should what reason can you give me to keep you alive? I'll give you 9. But okay, fine, whatever. I just don't think that the orcs are on the lookout for the 9. I think the last thing.
Do they even know about the 9?
That's what I'm saying. I don't. Yeah. I don't think
because
so.
I mean, the orcs have been under the command of Adar,
right?
Who knows about the 3?
The 3, but he doesn't know about the 9.
No,
that's what I thought.
So I thought that was a little bit of a continuity slip, actually.
Yeah, I struggle with that one too. But that's when we cut to, my goodness, the scene, right?
Mm-hmm. This was so hard to watch.
Oh.
I mean, we were expecting something along these lines.
Yeah,
that doesn't make it any easier to watch this.
No,
it was interesting that it's Annatar firing the arrows into him.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the portion from Unfinished Tales, if you're interested.
Oh, yes.
Of describing this and actually what happened. It's really interesting reading it in light of this show. So let me just read it, and I'll continue on a little bit because it talks about what happens next.
Yeah.
From part 2, chapter 4 of Unfinished Tales. In black anger, he turned back to battle, and bearing as a banner Celebrimbor's body hung up on a pole, shot through with orc arrows. He turned upon the forces of Elrond. So we get he's hung on a pole and he's shot through with orc arrows, both of which we see. We don't end up seeing him being born as a banner, at least yet.
I was going to say, I think poor Charles Edwards is going to make an appearance next season as a banner.
But we do get the shot through with arrows and the hung up on a pole we're going to get. But I just want to keep reading because it's interesting. Elrond had gathered such few of the elves of Eregion as had escaped, but he had no force to withstand the onset. He would indeed have overwhelmed had not Sauron's host been attacked in the rear, for Durin sent out a force of dwarves from Khazad-dûm.
Yes.
The only thing that's different is that continues, and with them came elves of Lorinand led by Amroth. So that's the only extra bit. The rest of it we get to see. Elrond was able to extricate himself, but he was forced away northwards, and it was at that time that he established a refuge and a stronghold at.
Yes.
Other than the Amroth bit, it's exactly how it plays out.
And I wonder what they're going to do about that next season. I'd like to think
Amroth or the banner.
Amroth. I'm wondering if we're going to get a mention of Lothlorien and Celeborn somehow.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe that's how they'll introduce him. I don't know. I definitely think we'll get the banner. I think there's absolutely. I think episode 1 is going to be Sauron's forces marching. Yeah, he gets skewered.
Our last sight of him is going to be Celebrimbor banner, isn't it?
Yeah, it will be. And it's going to be heartbreaking because this scene was, like you said, Sarah, so deeply, even though we knew it was coming. I mean,
this was rough.
It was really rough. It was intense. It was dark. It was,
and the way he was pushing on
the arrows or pushing
on the arrows to cause extra pain.
And that first arrow where you see him actually firing, and just the casual way in which he did it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just twang, done. Yep.
And then that abusive look at what you have done to yourself.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Do you know what? I've said this, that every episode where we've had this manipulation, they have upped it every episode. They've made it increasingly bad. This is even worse than the manipulation of episode 7.
Yep.
And it started to make me feel quite sick 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm watching this and I'm really feeling physically ill.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt a lot of that as well. It's clear that somebody really studied how people abuse other people.
Yeah. And they have represented that here on screen.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliantly, nauseatingly, perfectly. It's horrifying. It's truly horrifying.
I don't know if when I rewatch this show, I'll be able to rewatch this. It was so hard to watch. I mean, it is a scene of torture. It is a scene of physical torture and of mental torture. It is.
And no scene of torture is going to be easy to watch, and it shouldn't be.
No. And that's the thing. You're right. That's what makes this so amazing, is the fact that they made it so hard we can't watch it again. You know? And there are scenes like that in cinema for me, or even whole movies where I just can't watch it again because it's
you'll never get me to see Saving Private Ryan again. I've seen it once and I'll never watch it again.
Don't think I can. It was incredible. It was deeply moving, powerful, all of that, but I never want to see it again.
No. But this is horrific.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the ultimate sense of the word. It is a horrific scene.
Yeah.
And again, I just want to say all the props to these two actors because they have been incredible. Absolutely incredible. I mean, with these two, I think the script writers have been at their best.
Yes.
The two actors are at the top of their game.
And whoever directed them in each of these episodes, I mean,
it's all come together. Everything, every single creative input from all the different areas of creative input for this TV show has come into this moment, these scenes with these two. And it's just top notch and all the awards, I think.
I agree, 100%.
Just on that question of direction, this brings up something that I've wondered about, and I need to ask someone about because I'm sure they can tell us the answer. I don't understand why things like direction and cinematography are credited at the episode level.
Yeah.
Because I would have thought it would have made much more sense to divide it by location.
Yes, I would have thought the same thing. I would want one director for all of the Annatar Celebrimbor. I would want one cinematographer.
Right, because you're in the same location, same sets, you're lighting them the same way with the same actors for the most part, other than a couple of people that travel around.
Well, sure.
So why would you have a director shoot 10 minutes of this in one place and then have to travel to a different country in some places to direct another 10 minutes of that? So I'll have to ask what's actually going on there because it seems not the way you would do. I mean, because I know, having done a little bit, I did some filmmaking 20 years ago. And of course, the way you film these things, typically in a movie, you do all the stuff in one location at one time.
Yeah.
Because the cost of moving equipment and actors around is too high. So you say, we're going to shoot all of the Númenorian bits together and we're going to shoot, or you have separate units.
Second unit director, third unit director. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I would have thought too.
That's what would make most sense.
Because we're interleaving so many of these things across episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know why we get episode level credits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a bit like the writing, where obviously there's a writer's room and all of the writers are contributing, but at the end of the day, each episode is credited to a single writer or maybe two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not that they're the only writer involved in it. All the writers
there's
are
always
involved.
a room. Yeah.
But there's somebody that sort of takes the final responsibility. These are ultimately my words. I'm wondering if it's the same thing with some of the direction, that maybe not all the scenes in episode 8 were directed by the same person, but there's a primary director that's credited.
That's true. I mean, they do have second directors and things like that. But I wonder if the person to talk to about that, we've met her at a couple of the events, is Lindsay Weber, the executive producer. Mm. She would, of course, because she's, one of her roles is trying to make sure that there isn't too much cost of doing the scenes in a way that isn't logistically feasible.
There are some other people I can ask too, but I don't want to.
That's a very good question, because there has been such a strong consistency in the Annatar Celebrimbor line across all of those units and directors, whereas some of the other threads have shown a little bit of inconsistency, if you will, a little bit of like different handling and different writing. But maybe that's more a writing thing than a directing thing. I don't know. All I know is this scene was, like you said, Sarah, horrific in the most literal sense. He just kept, like you said, James, pushing on the arrow to sort of make the wound even more painful. And then the threat of, have you ever seen orcs in a battle frenzy?
Which I think is an interesting setup for something we actually do see.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I'll end it here for you if you just tell me where the 9 are. And we get another one of these abusive, manipulative lines. I only did this for you.
After he's just shot an arrow through him.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, you're clearly killing him. And you're like, I only did this for you.
Yeah, but you have to understand, this is what abusive people do.
Yes.
This is how they frame it. Nothing is ever their fault.
Right.
It's all about the person they're abusing. They have done things that have forced them to act in this way. Yep. And that, of course, enables them to be even more angry at the person, because I wouldn't act this way if you didn't make me. So it's all your fault. The way I feel right now, the way I've had to act, the fact that you've come out of this bruised and battered, it's all because of your actions and your choices and not mine. And this is how these abusers work.
And it's why the victims are helpless.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because of course this is classic. This is endgame. And no abuser starts here.
No.
They start way before that, with the little language digs and the isolation of their
negging
victim.
followed by the building up, so you become dependent on them for praise, and which we saw it was textbook.
This is textbook stuff. It's so good, and clearly
it's blooming classic. And it is 100% that.
There's a part of me that is as horrible as this stuff is to watch. I'm hopeful that there will be some people out there who are able to recognize these kinds of patterns in their own lives and get out of situations before they get to the point of Sauron and Celebrimbor.
It is terribly hard, because by the time you get to this kind of endpoint, the abuse has been so much that it's inside you.
Yeah.
It's not just, it's not easy to see it for what it is. And also, statistics show that the most dangerous time for an abused person to leave their abuser the most dangerous point is when they leave. That moment when they leave is the most dangerous time, because that's when they're most likely to be killed. Yeah. But this is a very dark conversation for a very dark scene.
Yeah, it is a very dark scene. And, Celebrimbor, at least there's one thing for Celebrimbor. He knows that this is going to come to an end. He knows he's dying. And I do love the dialogue they gave him. I got to say, the writers nailed this scene really, really well. For soon I shall go to the shores of the morning, borne hence by a wind that you can never follow.
And the look on Annatar's face when he says these things. You can,
angry.
Again,
so angry.
Charlie's acting here is just outstanding. He conveys so much by like a little nerve twitch in his cheek or, just a little twitch of the mouth or something like that. It's so good.
It is really good. And, obviously this sentiment of Celebrimbor's is lovely, the shores of the morning and all of this. I hope, of course, for his sake, that it's perfectly accurate that he's going to go straight to the shores of the morning, but something tells me he's going to get a little bit of a longer stop in the halls of Mandos.
Well, he's got some splaining to do, hasn't he?
I want to have a word about your jewelry.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Could you go and sit next to Feanor for a few hundred years and then we'll chat?
Hi, Grandpa. How's it going here in the halls of Mandos?
You'll find him on the naughty step right at the back.
What did you do with my hammer?
Oh, no.
Long story.
It's Sauron, but that line, like you said, it clearly gets to Annatar, right? This idea, born hence by a wind that you can never follow. It gets to him, right? He grabs a spear, the spear that we'll see run through him in a minute, but he threatens him first. He says, and this is so interesting because clearly there comes a point real soon when Annatar just loses control. Because his first attempt here is, there are ways of keeping you alive. Do you need me to show you the mastery of that craft? And it's his use of the word craft that just makes Celebrimbor laugh. Craft? I've been a craftsman for thousands of years. Your only craft is treachery. And I love it that he calls him Shadow of Morgoth.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. Very ouch. I mean, talk about, okay, I now know what buttons to press that are going to make you very angry.
Because you talked about me being sort of in the shadow of Feanor, and now I'm going to use that same technique against you. You're just the shadow of Morgoth.
And it works.
But I did like the reference when he says that your only craft is treachery. It shall betray the very hand that forges it. You're like, some One Ring stuff, but we're not even done with the One Ring stuff. Because that's when we get, and this is so Tolkien, somebody's dying. And with that foreknowledge of death comes a clarity. We see that all throughout the Legendarium, but especially in the First Age. And Celebrimbor gets that moment. Hear the dying words of Celebrimbor.
He
listen to me,
yes.
You son of a... I mean, you listen to me right now. The rings of power shall destroy you. And I love this line. In the end, I foresee one alone shall prove your utter ruin.
Nice one, Celebrimbor.
Absolutely.
Because those words are not just going to sting. They are going to live rent-free in Sauron's head for a very long time.
They will. They are going to take up some real estate in there. And I got to say, Celebrimbor is dead right. Too soon? Because that's when Annatar loses it, right? I mean, no more of this, I'm going to show you the mastery of this craft of keeping you alive, right? I'm not going to torture you for days on end. I'm going to run you through. He grabs the spear. No more torture. No more of this Mr. Nice Guy. No more I'm going to keep you alive and torment you. He just runs him straight through.
I almost feel like it's not just a no more Mr. Nice Guy. It's that he's lost control.
Totally lost control.
He wanted to torture him long enough to get the location of the rings, and I'm done.
The manipulation is over. He's not capable of that careful manipulation
Correct.
anymore.
His anger has gotten the best of him, and he just absolutely – and not only does he run him through with that spear, but the banner imagery comes because he starts pushing him up the column, lifting him up.
With no effort whatsoever. So that, that tells you about the power that he has.
The strength of Sauron.
But I also think that Celebrimbor was deliberately goading him into killing him, because I think that's better than being tortured for days.
Yeah, he absolutely had to know. And he was pushing buttons. Like we observed, he now understands. He sees what has been done to him, and he's now able to push those same buttons with Annatar, calling him Shadow of Morgoth. I mean, that's brilliantly done on Celebrimbor's part. So, of course, when he does that, he claims to be, now I am the creator and master of the rings. And that's when we get that beautiful, beautiful last line of Celebrimbor's, you are their prisoner, Sauron, Lord of the Rings. And thus passes Celebrimbor. Oh, yeah. I mean, remember when he called Celebrimbor the Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, this is a really great moment, again, in sort of cinematic terms.
Yes.
And what I'm really interested in, and I really want to hear what you two have to say about this, is that the camera cuts to Annatar's face and he's weeping.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That tear, that lone tear that's trickling down his cheek. I mean, again, props, Charlie, because amazing acting.
Fantastic acting.
But what is Annatar actually weeping for?
Yeah.
Well, a couple of things. One is I think he realizes that he lost control. This is not what he intended to have happen.
Exactly.
I almost wonder if he didn't even really intend the preceding pincushioning to happen, that it was sort of he largely lost control. But I think he genuinely enjoyed the creation of the rings with Celebrimbor. I think he was genuine when he said he's enjoyed his time working together. I don't think that was a lie at all.
No.
I think he
enjoyed it because it was all under his control. But this fun time is over.
So he's weeping for himself?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
he's
what I
only
thought.
Weeping for himself. He's not weeping for the loss of Celebrimbor. No, he's weeping for how that loss affects him.
That's what I thought. I'm glad to hear you two kind of agree with that, because
I don't think Annatar can weep for anybody but himself.
No.
I mean, that's the thing.
He doesn't have compassion, so no.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the line in the first, it just occurs to me now, what was the line in the first season that Celebrimbor says to Elrond about, does he talk about Morgoth's tears?
Ooh.
What does he say about seeing, when Morgoth saw the
it almost brought him to tears. Or
almost brought him to tears?
Yes.
They were so beautiful they even touched Morgoth's heart.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if there was any kind of callback to that, this idea that Sauron realized the enormity of what had been accomplished by Celebrimbor, and it was over.
Yeah. The thing with the Morgoth tears, it's fascinating. I've always seen Morgoth, or thought of Morgoth, as more emotional than Sauron because we actually see in the Silmarillion and beyond the fact that he does experience emotion, which includes anger and fear, etc. And that perhaps he had more capacity because of it to actually feel emotion upon perceiving the Silmarils. Whereas Sauron is very different. I'm not saying he feels no emotions whatsoever, but he doesn't seem to feel emotions towards things outside of himself. No.
He is very cold and calculating. And Morgoth, on the other hand, was so
chaotic.
He really was. He really was. And he would do foolish things out of anger, or foolish things out of fear of being considered a coward. I'm thinking of when Fingolfin challenged him. That was the dumbest thing in the world for him to come out.
Right, exactly.
But he had to, because he was going to be called a coward.
His pride was hurt.
Exactly. It was a Marty McFly moment,
Oh, nice analogy.
And now I'm picturing Morgoth. I think Annatar is incapable of feeling anything outside of what affects him. And he's weeping for his loss of Celebrimbor, his loss of the rings, his loss of creating more rings. Of course, he's learned enough that he's now going to go and be able to make his own. But
But I love that callback to the moment of Celebrimbor talking about Morgoth's tears. I think that's a really great connection.
Just coming to the going and making his own ring, one thing that just occurred to me as I was thinking about the timeline. At this stage, Barad-dûr has already been built.
Yes.
In the books. So I'm wondering how they're going to do that. I think they have to show Barad-dûr being constructed.
Yeah.
It's such an important part of even the Peter Jackson films. But
yeah,
I wonder how that's going to play out. It's going to be interesting to see because, in the books, there's this whole intervening thing where he goes back to Barad-dûr, goes back to Mordor, builds Barad-dûr, makes the One Ring, and only then does Celebrimbor realize what's going on.
And then he pulls together the army and attacks Eregion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting that we've not had any of that part of it. In fact, the whole Mordor story has been changed.
Being told backwards, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. There's one other thing I just wanted to say. This is a minor thing that some people are going to say, obsession with the lore. I thought it was funny that Annatar tells a story. He says something like, it is said that in Gondolin, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I thought that was funny because in one of the versions, probably the main version of the Celebrimbor story, he was in Gondolin.
In Gondolin, that's right.
So it was sort of funny that he was saying, I heard that in Gondolin, and Celebrimbor's like, I was there.
That's right.
I thought that was funny that there's that Gondolin mention.
I was there, but I don't remember you.
Funny you didn't say that about you. Yeah. Didn't mention you.
So with those tears in his eyes, Annatar turns. Well, he waits actually first as Glüg and the other orcs arrive. I love it. Are you Sauron? And of course,
I called it, didn't I? I said Glüg was going to leave.
Totally called it.
Yeah.
We get the usual reply from Annatar. I have many names.
Which I just want to comment on. I think this is the third or fourth time that he says I have many names. The interesting thing about that is it does address the fact that Sauron is an insult.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, that he would not call himself Sauron, although we saw him.
He wouldn't permit the orcs to stand in front of him and call him Sauron either.
No.
Exactly. But so this is interesting. That
Are you the abhorred?
So it's an interesting thing that he would respond that way if somebody used a well-known insult in front of you and said, is this your name? It makes sense that he would say I have many names. That's actually quite a nice response.
But that's not one of them is what I would expect him to follow up with.
But don't you call me that again and expect
people
to
call
live.
me all sorts of things, but not all live to
They
tell
don't
the
call
tale.
me that and live more than 2 seconds afterwards.
You can even call me late for dinner, but don't call me Sauron. Yeah. Once again, Annatar's showing us that he's really good at manipulation because as soon as he answers that question, I have many names, he turns and says, what is your name?
Yes.
It's like, okay, now that I don't have Celebrimbor to manipulate, I've got to find somebody else to manipulate.
Yes.
And he immediately begins to work on Glüg as we suspected he might. Now, we come back to this storyline much later, and that's when the orcs bring Galadriel to Adar. She's like, I accept your terms, end this slaughter, I'll help you destroy him. She does not know what Adar knows, that he has Nenya. That was an interesting reveal. It took her by surprise.
That was a fantastic reveal.
It really was.
Oh, I actually gasped.
Yeah. There was this, in the lead up to that, Adar's leaning over this rock and we can't see his face. And then all of a sudden he turns around.
And he's healed.
Healed.
And that's when he says, and I want to know the answer to this one. I want to get your
speculations. Yes, I know.
I was known by another name. Now, he says the name was meaningless, but what he's saying there is it was given to me whereas Adar is earned. I don't think he means that it was a non-legendary name. Who do you think he is?
Oh, goodness.
I'm actually taking this to mean it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And we're not going to find out. I think this was just saying...
We're never going to find out now.
Well, we might, But it does very soon become irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I think that was the message here.
Yeah.
Like meaningless in this. I took meaningless almost to mean irrelevant to us now.
Yes.
But also meaningless in the sense of we don't have the rights to this name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are all sorts of kind of like jerk elves that he could be.
Yeah. But he's also missing a hand.
He is always hiding the hand.
Hiding the hand. Yeah. We don't know if he's missing it, but we know he's hiding it.
Yeah. Which I don't know. I mean, they clearly did that deliberately.
Yeah, they did.
But I wonder if we will find out at some point. Probably not. I don't know.
Oh.
But it certainly surprised Galadriel, didn't it?
Oh, it sure
did.
The
healing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even the fact that he had the ring.
Yeah. It immediately started reverting the moment he took it off.
Yes, yeah. Because obviously the damage was done so very long ago that simply wearing the ring isn't going to solve it all.
You'd have to wear it forever.
You can't wear it. Yeah, he'd have to wear it for a very, very long time. He couldn't just wear it for 10 minutes.
Boy, I still want to know who he was. Is he some sort of named elf? Is this Miglin, or some other really, really?
But I don't think that
elf.
fits, given that we were told he was one of the, the 13.
No, he was one of
the originals. Yes.
Realistically, he must have been one of the very first generations of elves, taken by Morgoth before the Eldar made it over to Amon.
I think so. Yeah,
he would have to be. So yeah. Well, whatever the case is, he wants his name back, right? He wants to be the father to these orcs. This is so sad because of what ends up happening at the end of this scene. He feels remorse for having maybe not cared enough about the orcs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, too little, too late.
Too little, too late. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But I promise I'll take my guys back to Mordor. Never going to make war again. That's a big promise. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you could keep that promise, but he's making that promise if you help me defeat Sauron. And honestly, that's not a bad deal. Like land that I don't want anyway to be occupied by people who promise never to be a threat. Okay, fine. In exchange for defeating the only really big threat we have left. All right, I take that deal, right?
It's a heck of a deal, isn't it? If only it could have played out.
I know, wouldn't that have been interesting? But I do like her response. It's sort of like, I've killed more of your children than anybody else ever. She's not wrong. But he forgives her, and I love that he forgives her in Quenya, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no more flames, no more darkness. Let this heal the rift, create a lasting peace. Could this ever though have actually been? Is this? I guess the thing I'm thinking of is we sort of see. I think we're meant to see these orcs as sort of very early orcs, right? We've talked about that. Some of them are very tall. They certainly have more of a family structure that we've seen, more feelings. I mean, Glüg just said, hey, you told us that you loved us, as if that would matter to an orc in the Third Age. Is this consistent, though, with where we are in the timeline? We're late in the Second Age, or at least midway through the Second Age at this point.
This is a really interesting transition, though, because unlike what we're familiar with from the books, these are not Sauron's orcs.
That is true.
Not yet.
And they're not Morgoth's either. So they've invented this transitionary stage.
Okay.
Which to me kind of suggests all bets are off in terms of what, they're not like the orcs of Morgoth, and they're not like the orcs of Sauron.
These aren't your father's orcs. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're right. All bets are off. We don't know. Is this consistent with how far the orcs that we know of in the Second Age? No, it arguably isn't. By this point, the orcs are just killing machines at that point. You might be able to make this argument in the first or second or third generation of those that have been captured, but it's probably about as far as it would have gone. But it is an interesting idea, the idea of a lasting peace, a rift between elves and orcs, being healed by that. But before Galadriel can even think about, accepting this offer and saying, sure, let's sign a contract, they bring back Glüg, mortally wounded apparently. And that it turns out, of course, that he's not been mortally wounded, but the ruse is that he was nearly killed because he refused to betray Adar to Sauron.
I think was brilliant, and I totally fell for it both times. It was this double twist, right?
Absolutely.
I thought this, because this is part of a whole chain of twists that we're going to get to, that I actually thought were brilliantly executed. At no time did it seem like it was telegraphed at no time to me anyway. I fell for it every single time. I honestly thought that in Eregion Glüg was defecting.
Yep.
And then I honestly thought he changed his mind and came back and decided that no, Sauron's
we thought about Glüg being the leader of the rebellion, that he was going to be Spartacus and rise up against Adar, and of course that is what he ends up doing. But I bought it too. I thought, okay, well, sure enough, he's going to turn and he's going to worship Sauron now. And then I'm like, oh man, the good guy. He decided no, he was going to betray. He wasn't going to betray Adar. And look, he's paying for his life with it. And we're going to see that moment that we saw in season 1 where, Adar ends his life, mercifully, like we saw him do with an orc who was wounded.
And he's genuinely grieving Adar as well. You can see that.
He was in, he's the things he was saying were beautiful, right? About, it's never too late, my son. And, he clearly, I think you're beginning to see that remorse for having, in his mind, had to use the orcs the way he did in this battle.
But yeah, it's like I said, it's too little, too late. The rest of what happens here, I can understand why.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Glüg. He's like, no, you don't understand. When I say it's too late, I don't mean it's because I'm dying. Here's what I mean. And it is a brutal piling on, and it's obviously meant to be visually reminiscent of the attempt to kill Sauron in episode 1. You know, the CEO Sauron, who was giving a very boring TED talk.
The difference being that we can't get sludge Adar, because that's not how it works.
Adar is an incarnate being. He's not a Maya. And man, that was it was brutal, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah.
And
really,
it just
really
kept
rough.
going.
It kept going, and then Glüg deals that final blow.
That final blow. Because I thought for sure he was dead at this point, right? But he looks up and he says, "My children," and it's done. It is just done.
And you get that line, "They're not children anymore."
Ooh, they're not children anymore. That was true. Also cold. Also just brutal. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's telling Adar that on the one hand, they've grown up. They're not children. They are, they're beyond that. But also on the flip side, I won't be caring for them parentally.
Correct.
The way that you did.
I will be using them as cannon fodder. And of course, what are your instructions, Lord Sauron? And he's like, raise the Region, destroy it, burn it to the ground, kill everybody except the leaders. And also apparently except one other elf who's not really a leader. But he's a major character.
They don't know that, maybe. I don't know.
And the elfiest elf that ever did elf.
That's right, the elfiest elf to ever elf. I did think Annatar reveals himself, right? He shows up, he takes his crown, he calls Galadriel's name, and then, that line about my children and giving him the instructions. Yep. Galadriel says, all this was your design from the beginning. Of course it was, right? We know that.
Yeah, duh.
Sauron's the master planner. This was all, his idea, his execution. I have to admit, I didn't like the next thing he said, that the road goes ever winding. Yeah.
Yeah. No, wince.
Use another line from The Lord of the Rings, but please don't use a hobbity line and turn it into something twisted and dark.
It's a Bilbo line as well.
Yeah, it's a Bilbo Frodo line. It's not,
Yeah. There have been occasions, haven't there, where the showrunners have used the books, and we're happy when they use the books, then they use the books like this.
Yeah.
My question is why? So many other things that Sauron could have said here. Oh. And in fact, I don't think that line makes sense in the context of what they're talking about.
No, it does not.
It's not. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's literally just pulled out of the books because, this will be a good answer. No, actually it isn't.
No.
There are so many other things that he could have said that would have made more sense anyway. Anyway, that's my grump. One of them.
I totally agree with that grump. I actually really, really just disliked that moment. It took me out for a moment because this had been otherwise a really powerful scene. And then all of a sudden you roll your eyes because Annatar throws out this really cheesy line.
But then luckily it does pull us back in again because
it does.
The rest of the scene
it really does. Yeah.
Really good.
Because then we get the beginning of the fight, right? Galadriel tries to sort of ambush Annatar. I mean, come on, you got to know better. He turns and uses the crown to stop her strike. We've seen that a little bit in the trailer, I think, or in some of the preview material. But one we didn't see in the preview was always like, oh, look at that ring on your finger, man. That's a pretty ring.
Yeah, that's even prettier than Celebrimbor told me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He wants the 9 plus Nenya to heal all Middle Earth.
Yeah, right.
Anybody believe him? I don't think Galadriel does.
Nope.
No. Sure, he doesn't want to harm him. Now, we do cut from the fight back briefly to a burning city where Elrond and Gil-galad are prisoner just in time to watch Feanor's statue pulled to the ground.
Yes.
I'm not going to complain about that. I mean, really, I expected it to break and just become dust and ashes because that's all that's left in the Feanor Pinata around here.
That would have been an interesting nod to the lore.
It was.
Wouldn't
it was
it?
a very interesting nod to the lore.
If he'd just vanished.
Yeah, it
just
turned into ash, burned up. Like he falls over, and as soon as it hits the ground, it breaks. Just all of a sudden, you just see smoke
ash and smoke rising,
disappearing. That would have been fantastic. Instead, though, we do get a pile of scrolls, which Elrond says, these are the full records of Celebrimbor's works. Like the orcs care.
Oh,
Right.
no, they literally
Not a strong
don't.
argument, Elrond.
No, in
Not
fact, I
really.
would argue that
Read
by
the room.
saying this, read the room, Elrond. Read the dang room. Like the elves, like the wisdom of the elves is going to be something the orcs like, well, I suppose we better keep that. I mean,
That sounds
the
important.
opposite.
Let's keep that. Yeah.
I mean, he could have tried, I wouldn't burn that because I think Sauron wants to keep that.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
That might have worked.
Yes.
But no, don't burn all of our history and culture and pass me a match.
Yeah, exactly.
They really aren't going to care about that.
Maybe you make the
Although-
claim that, the prophecies say that he who burns these scrolls will himself burn in a fire forever. And the orc's like, well, now I'm scared to touch it. Okay, fine. Anything other than this is all that matters to us. Take my life. This is more important than me. Okay, well, now I'm going to burn this. I mean,
Yes, and we'll just kill you later.
right, exactly. Elrond fights nobly but pointlessly. But I will say this. I think this was a way, him watching the fire burn and an understanding that this is the knowledge of all of Eregion is exactly the motivation for him becoming that lore master that we see Elrond be in the Third
Yes.
Age. That's what this
Yeah,
is.
I
This is
agree.
clearly why he's going to establish a great library in the Hall of Fire in Imladris when he builds the last Holy House. So. But then we briefly see Arondir. Yay, he's alive, but also he's a leader.
Yeah, and also he does not appear to have a wound.
I know. Shouldn't he have a big gaping wound? Two of them, in fact.
Yes.
From
The mortal
Adar's very
wound
large
that is all
sword.
itchy.
I now know that's a Buffy reference.
Thank you.
I've learnt my pop culture.
Good for you. All I can think of
My
is,
work here is done.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking though, like the Black Knight in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yes, it's just a flesh wound.
It's just a flesh wound. It's a scratch. Yeah, he's clearly back and perfectly healthy, which is stunning. But okay, at least he's alive. Now the thing is, we only see him very briefly before we cut back to the fight between Galadriel and. I keep wanting to just say Annatar because that's sort of the primary form he's in, but Sauron, really.
Yeah, true. We can call him Sauron now.
Maybe we'll have to call him Sanabrand.
Sanabrand.
Can I just ask though, did either of you get massive Princess Bride vibes from this fight scene?
Oh,
I
gosh, yes.
literally expected him to say, I have a surprise for you. I am done with that.
Exactly. I mean, there was so much the landscape,
stonework
some of
and
the exactly. Jumping down the way he jumps down to a
Yes.
lower level and then
Kind of flips
Oh,
down.
well, she actually Galadriel does. I think it's
That's
Galadriel
right.
that jumps down
Yeah,
and
he
then
sort of
does the
tumbles,
sword work. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so Princess Bride.
It was so Princess Bride. I'm waiting for Sauron to get her to be defeated and to say, I would sooner rather destroy a
In a good way, by the way. This is not a criticism. I actually loved it because, of course, it's one of the greatest sword fights in cinematic history, and I think
100%,
this was just this gorgeous homage to it. I thought this was a wonderful.
Yeah.
Fight-
This homage
fight
worked
scene as
because
well.
it didn't get silly. I thought it could.
Although
and
we're
it didn't.
joking, about it now.
But this whole fight scene is really excellently done,
Yes.
actually. You feel the peril.
Yes, and you feel the creepiness as Sauron uses his shape-shifting abilities. Oh my goodness, to go back to Halbrand like that at that moment, that youthful look. And
Do you see the difference in which he was holding himself?
Yes.
His face, his bearing, everything changes as soon as he's Halbrand.
Fantastic acting.
Again, fantastic acting.
Vickers is, just off the charts good. But wow, this is where we see Sauron's true shape-shifting ability. This isn't just a guy putting on a new raiment. This is a guy whose primary skill is in appearing like other people. He will lose that ability, but he won't lose it until the downfall of Númenor.
right.
Oh,
When he becomes Galadriel, that's
that
really
was unexpected.
creepy.
That
Yes.
was really unexpected. Oh man, was that? I'm trying to remember what form was he in when he threw Finrod's words back at her. Find the light when must first touch the darkness. I think he was back in the Halbrand form.
Or even Annatar.
Maybe. I don't think that was the Galadriel line,
No.
and it
No.
wasn't the Celebrimbor line.
No.
That was
No.
Oh,
I think he was
still
Annatar.
Annatar. Can I just use that opportunity to once again say I really don't like that line.
Finrod's line.
No, neither do
Finrod's
I.
alleged line. That doesn't sound like the line of the favorite elf of the First Age.
No.
Finrod Felagund would not say that.
No. Finrod Felagund would say the Celebrimbor line about it not it
Yes. Yes.
being light, not strength. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely he would. And hope and loyalty. This is a guy who, because of his because of his pledge to the House of Barahir, went with Beren on the quest to retrieve the Silmaril at the cost of his kingdom and his life. I mean, first, we have to have this moral relativism and touch the darkness. What is that about?
No.
That's so not Tolkien, but
No, and it's definitely not Finrod.
No, exactly. Oh, you're right. That's definitely when he's in the Annatar shape, because he shifts into Halbrand, then into Galadriel, and then Celebrimbor. Yeah, I just had to look at my notes. Yeah, then they get another one of those tumbles, another one of those sort of Princess Bride moments, right? We get the fall. Yep. She goes to crawl and get her sword. Annatar, I see you. And I love the way they use this line, because it's very much a callback to some textual references. He claims to know her mind and that the door is still open. Let's go back to the chapter, The Mirror of Galadriel. This is when Galadriel has revealed herself to Frodo as bearing the other ring, one of the other elven rings. She says to him, I perceive the Dark Lord and know his mind. So there's your know her mind line. Or all of his mind that concerns the elves. And he gropes ever to see me and my thought. By the way, I love that word grope, because that is so Sauron. Yep. But the killer is that last line. But still the door is closed.
Yeah.
Still the door is closed. This is late in Third Age. This is more than 3,000 years from now. The door is still closed.
And she throws her hand out in utter rejection.
Yes, to the south, Oh, that is fantastic moment in the text, and I do love that callback here, because Sauron thinks that he knows her mind, thinks that door is still open,
and thinks he can manipulate her into walking through that door.
Exactly. She utterly rejects that, and now we know she's got that door closed for. Well, until the threat is gone. Yeah, it's fantastic. Absolutely love that. As the fight continues, I have to say, all things considered, the fact that she's fighting against Amaya, Galadriel's doing pretty well for herself, right up until the point where she isn't.
Yes, right until she gets the point. All three of them.
Oh, until she gets his point. Do you understand me now? Twist, twist. Yeah, he's used the crown of Morgoth as like a set of swords. It's like a set of steak knives.
Yeah, ouch.
First place is a new Cadillac. Second place is a set of steak knives.
And this is going to take more than a Band-Aid and some Tylenol.
Yes, it will.
In fact, it's going to take even more than one elven ring.
That's right. And
true.
Man, I mean, I love this, because I got to say, this honestly seems like an unsurvivable set of wounds, even for an elf, even with Nenya, but we'll get to that. I do like her resistance to the very end. The free peoples of Middle-earth will always resist you, but it doesn't matter. In the end, she collapses. He takes the 9, but that's when the moment comes. We get another cool
catastrophe.
Horn. The horns in this show have always been good. I will say that. The horns have been great. The dwarves arrive to save Elrond, to save what's left of Eregion, and we get some great fighting.
Yeah, it's a real catastrophic moment, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yes.
The dwarves turning up thank goodness they're here at last.
Yes.
Let me again read that line from Unfinished Tales. He would have indeed have been overwhelmed had not Sauron's host been attacked. He, meaning Elrond. Yeah. Had not Sauron's host been attacked in the rear, for Durin sent out a force of dwarves from Khazad-dûm.
Nothing worse than being attacked in the rear.
Fantastic moment. It really is. Like you said, catastrophic. We do get to see Arondir doing some elfy elf stuff, just amazing fighting skills, saves Gil-galad, and the fight proper begins. In the middle of it, though, is this moment where Elrond is calling out for Durin, and he finds out from another one of the dwarves.
From Na'vi, I think.
Is
that Na'vi? It looks like Na'vi.
Oh, wow. Good catch. Yeah, with the helmet on, I couldn't tell. Those helmets.
Which is the point, right? He mistakes him for Durin, and I think it's
that
Na'vi.
Makes sense. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Why would they give a speaking line to somebody not to one of the extras? Then they got to pay him SAG rates. Yeah, the prince is in mourning, and I'm glad you caught that was Narvi, because it was moving too quick for me to tell. But then we cut back to that. I was going to say to the fight, but the fight's over. Galadriel and Annatar, right? He wants Nenya, and we really think for a moment, don't we? She's going to give it to him. Mm-hmm. You want to heal Middle Earth? Yeah, I'm falling for the lie. She takes it off. She even turns her hand like she's going to put it in his hand.
Yep.
And at the very last second, the very last moment, she pulls an Elrond, and she leaps off that precipice. Drawback is there's no waterfall or lake at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's that might have helped Elrond.
We've had There's a number of moments in Tolkien's own work where we have a character that sacrifices themselves.
Yes.
By flinging themselves over a precipice like that, deliberately dying by suicide or whatever. It's interesting that we get two of these. Yeah. Elrond sacrificing himself because he's not 100% sure he's going to survive this jump.
No.
And Galadriel, who just decides that she's going to tip herself over this cliff edge rather than hand over Nenya. I find that fascinating. But I'll tell you what scene from a film it immediately made me think of. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that they weren't doing this, but it just made me think of it. Do you remember a film called The Last of the Mohicans?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With Daniel Day-Lewis?
Yeah.
And there's that scene near the end where one of the daughters just backs away.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
I
just
remember that now.
Tips herself over the cliff edge. Yeah. And it just, it so reminded me of that moment.
Wow.
Yeah. Good point.
That is a good catch. I hadn't seen that in a very long time.
No, me either. And I don't know why it just pinged my brain, but my brain is stuffed full of nonsense. So it was stuck in a crevice in the dark at the back somewhere. And
about 120 years worth of nonsense, right? I mean, if
apparently,
it was
yes. I am ageless.
So we do get, I thought, a really interesting moment with Gil-galad and Arondir spotting the falling body of Galadriel. I thought that was a shot I didn't expect to see.
That was chilling.
It was.
A little bit, yes.
They probably, I wonder if they realized who it was, and
it certainly drew them that direction, because then later on we see them there. Like they find her.
They're like, what on earth happened there? Yeah.
Right. So that's when, now we cut back, of course, to the top of the cliff, Glüg bringing news to Sauron of the arrival of the dwarves. I love this because he's treating Sauron as though he's Adar. Hey, this new army's here,
Big
and
mistake.
if we try to fight them, many Uruks are going to...
Yeah, because Sauron literally does not care.
No, does not care. And this is a way for him to stamp his authority on the orcs.
Yep. Yeah, poor Glüg.
Oh, I know.
I kind of feel sorry for him.
But again, this was something I did not see this coming either. This was the chain of twists, right?
Yeah.
Glüg seemingly betraying Adar to Sauron, and then seemingly not, sort of being a double, and then getting killed by, or killing Adar and then being killed by Annatar. Yeah.
Oh, it's brutal. It's clearly Sauron saying, you aren't children anymore. I'm not going to treat you like that. I'm not going to protect you.
You're slaves. You're literally here to do whatever I want you to do.
Yep,
there will be no care for you.
No, of course not. Which is why the orcs hate him, right? They hate Morgoth. They hate Sauron. You know, they only serve out of fear. There's no, we think this guy's right and we, are totally on his side. They just, Oh, man. So I also thought it was sad, really sad, actually, that Glüg was killed with Adar's own sword.
Yes.
The symbolism there was just deep.
Yeah, that had to sting.
It really, really did. We cut then to and I'm going to say mortally wounded Galadriel. Not only, here's the thing, I'm just going to say this is kind of like swimming back from Valinor. I know she's an elf. I know she's got to live. I know they got to use the rings to heal her. I mean, that was telegraphed. But that was a fall that was enough to crush every bone in her body, and she would have bled out internally by now.
Yeah.
Elf or not, she's dead. Let's just be honest. I mean, not only is she bleeding out from multiple chest wounds, but every bone in her body is shattered. And those wounds are essentially Morgul wounds, as we see Gil-galad eventually saying, her very immortal spirit is being drawn into the Shadow Realm. Now, can we back the Gil-galad truck up a minute on that line? I am going to get a little lore obsessed on this. Yes, we know.
We're going to get more emails.
Really? How many Morgul knives can dance on the head of a pin?
But his emails.
So we know that the Morgul blade that the Witch King used to stab Frodo on Weathertop absolutely had that power. But Frodo had a mortal spirit. Is there anything in any of the lore either of you know that would suggest that the Fea of an elf could be pulled unwillingly into the Shadow Realm? Unwillingly, I say, because we do know that when an elf was killed, he could choose not to accept the summons of Mandos, not to go over, but instead could actually willingly serve Morgoth in death. But unwillingly? I don't think so.
I don't remember anything. Nothing comes to mind.
And in fact, I sort of have to feel like that's not possible. Like the elves, Feyar, that is to say, their spirits, for those who are not steeped in the lore that we are, that would suggest they would be corruptible in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just found that. I mean, look, I get it. They're trying to present a threat. They're trying to present an imminent threat.
Yes, I would have thought that her many injuries would be bad enough.
I think so, too.
I honestly didn't think that they needed to invent this extra peril. It's a bit like the thing in Khazad-dûm where, your brother's going to contest the will kind of thing.
And this was also, I think, designed to be a callback to that moment in the films. Like the close-up of her wound was designed to make us think of the close-up of Frodo's wound on his shoulder with the blackness sort of spreading from the wound and things like that.
Yeah, I get it. But she's an elf. She's badly wounded. As you said, really, she's dead. But she's very badly wounded. I think that would be more than enough for Gil-galad to realize that his one ring is not going to one ring. Oops.
All you got to do is have her gasping for breath because she can't.
Yes.
Her lungs are punctured.
Her lungs are punctured and every organ is squidged. So, yeah. I'm sorry, a fall like that, she is just chunky salsa now. I mean, that's she's dead. So, yeah, sorry. All right. So Gil-galad, of course, begins to attempt to heal her. And I do love how Gil-galad is what he's saying and how he's saying it is beautiful, right? In the language that he's using. And he's using his ring, right? He turns his ring around and he's sort of like putting it on her and but it's just not enough. So clearly he was fighting with the ring on.
Yeah, we saw him fighting with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He very deliberately put it on for the fight. Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty fantastic. Somehow, Arondir, who also has knowledge of first aid, is like, we're losing her. Thank you, Dr. Arondir, the elfiest elf doctor.
Look, maybe he's a battle medic. You've no idea.
He learnt from Bronwyn as well. He would have learned some things from Bronwyn.
You crush it. Smart guy. He is the elfiest elf. So, of course, Elrond spots Nenya on the ground. He knows, hey, together with the two rings of the three, which again, where's Círdan? We can save her.
Harumph.
I know. I'm like, well, what if Círdan had been here? And the three of you used all three rings to heal her.
Because remember, two divide. So that's why they had to make three.
Oh, man.
They had to make three.
Yeah,
I'm serious. Yeah.
We had to. So, we knew this was sort of telegraphed in a way. She is healed, of course. And when we come back to this line, she's waking up. She's healed. I love that she wakes till Gil-galad's snark.
Yes.
Preferred you when you were quiet.
I enjoyed the quiet. It was pretty nice. Rest and we're safe here. Well, where is here? This is where we get a really cool reveal, right? Elrond says it's a sanctuary protected by the rings, though once again, what rings? Because Círdan's got one. Where's that guy? I mean, I miss Círdan. I'd like to see him come back, please. Really, I just don't understand where he went. Maybe he is off looking for Celeborn. That's the only thing I can think of. He's going to come back with Celeborn in tow.
Look who I found.
Look who I found. Exactly. Exactly.
And Galadriel's like, God, I thought I dumped his ass millennia ago. We were on a break.
It was, we were seeing other people. It was a trial thing. Yeah.
Wasn't expecting a Friends reference, but
Elrond gives her ring back, and Arondir shows up, and now we've got the four elfie elves, the lead elves, at the top of this cliff, and Gil-galad, we find out, has a decision to make as High King. This is where we get the line, James, that you referenced earlier about Sauron roving across the entire region. Mm-hmm. Now even Lindon is in reach. That's pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I understand, yes, clearly time has passed, enough time for the refugees to make it to Imladris. But they haven't built any shelters or anything like that. No. So this isn't like 6 months later. This is maybe a week later.
If that. Yeah.
If that? I mean, how long would it have taken them to journey? But Galadriel was asleep the whole time. Yeah, maybe a week, somewhere in that range, maybe 2. Whatever it is, it's not a very long time. So how has word already gotten back to Gil-galad that Sauron is roving across the entire region? That's what I want to know. But
handwave.
Maybe the ring told him. Maybe the ring told
that's
him.
True. The ring does give visions. That is fair. That actually is quite fair. So
although
he has a choice.
It would have been better if it said Sauron will rove across the entire region.
Yeah, the ring has shown me that Sauron will be roving across, looking for.
Anyway, time compression.
Time compression, indeed. Speaking of time compression, we've been running long. Let's go ahead and get closer to the end of this. Sword or shield, right? Are we going to attack or are we going to, defend? I have to say, I feel like they don't have the numbers to attack.
No, I'm thinking
really
Shield. My vote's for Shield.
My vote
vote
is
would have
also
been for Shield as well.
Yeah. And I think
Gil-galad has a different idea.
Yeah, it's also more along the lines of what they actually do, because when Sauron is attacking, they come back over the Lune. They use the Lune as a line of defense, and they make their stand there. They're certainly not going out to seek Sauron and fight him. And of course, they just prepare defenses. But Elrond, I'm with Elrond, right? He makes the point. Most of our good fighters have, died. We don't have a lot left.
That's inconvenient.
And that really is a problem. We don't have a lot of strength left with which to fight these massive orc armies. And again, Círdan, and also Númenor. Can we?
Well, presumably,
but of course we've moved to a point in this timeline where Númenor is not going to send ships to help out the elves.
The only thing I can think of is whether we will see ships come to Middle-earth not to help the elves, but just simply to capture Sauron.
Yeah. Or we will see that. I think you're right. I mean, Pelargir will sort of be the base. It'll be the fortress, right? Which we'll get to Pelargir here in just a moment. But yeah, I feel like that's really the only thing. I'd hoped that we would see them sending ships to help the elves, but I guess that's really sort of what we saw last season with them sending help. So, yeah.
True.
All right. So Galadriel, though, is asked for her counsel because Elrond votes shield, but she uses the lines of Celebrimbor that it is not strength that overcomes darkness, but light. I have to admit, it was pretty nice when she says, "And the sun yet shines." That was a pretty cool delivery. That was top notch. I still think it's the wrong decision to go and fight when you don't have the numbers. But, Galadriel stands up on top of that cliff next to the High King, and he doesn't really speak to the gathered dozens, really. He just pulls the sword out.
He just poses. Yep.
And it is a dramatic shot. Let's be clear. That is a really cool shot. Rivendell shining in the sun, the High King holding up his sword. This is the end of second season. Next season, there's going to be elves fighting Sauron. I mean, that was a good way to ending it, even if that doesn't quite fit with the lore, and even if it might not be the wisest decision. But okay, all right, we buy it. And then we have one last storyline to touch on, and it won't be very long.
This was a surprise to me. I was not expecting.
The fact that we actually got back to Pelargir, I was totally surprised.
I was thrilled.
In a good way. I was very happy that we did.
Especially with what they actually do with it.
Yeah. And again, a lot in 5 minutes. It was just
a whole lot. I mean, and it's a real turnabout from last episode. We actually have a fifth storyline. And man, we get a foretaste of the Numenorian colonization of Middle-earth.
At last, yes. I have been wanting this.
And it's a smack in your face, too.
Yeah,
it really is. But not before we get that touching scene of Isildur and Theo. And I love that. Isildur offers him his hand and Theo gives him an embrace. And it's just beautiful. He's talked to him about losing his mom. And I loved Isildur's honesty, right? I carried it poorly. I carried it poorly. It was so good. It was so real.
Really honest.
Yes.
And actually, sometimes that's what you need to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Having gone...
I was strong and it was fine.
Exactly. Because when you see other people being strong and you can't be strong yourself, you feel like a failure then.
Right.
Knowing that it's okay to be a total mess. Yeah.
To not be able to carry this because you should never have had to carry this. You were not intended to have to carry this. Yep. And, Isildur even says, "Come back to Númenor with me,"
Yeah.
Theo turns him down and that's when they hug. And I love that moment. It just feels like his heart is softening a little bit.
Yep.
And I think he really does look up to Isildur. In fact, I think somewhere down the line, he's going to make a promise to Isildur to help him in the fight against Sauron.
Oh, dear.
And then he's going to change his mind. I am now back to, as I was in season 1, I'm not so sure Nazgul. I think King of the Dead. And it breaks my heart. but they're setting it up beautifully. He admires and looks up to Isildur. They're going to have to come back and make that fight at the end of season 5. And I just see it now as Theo, for some reason, and I don't know what it'll be. It might be that Sauron promises him, "I can bring your mother back," or some deep, terrible lie that will just force him to withdraw and not support Isildur. And
is it going to be a Gorlim moment?
Ooh, a Gorlim moment, deep cut. So, folks, just a deep cut there. Baron's father, Barry, here was leading a small band of rebels against Morgoth back in the First Age. One of them was named Gorlim, and his wife had died. Well, he didn't know his wife had died. He had left his wife in their home, and when they found that place, the home was burned and empty. And Sauron knew that he knew these people were out there, but he couldn't find them. I should say Morgoth. And so he had Sauron hunting for them. And Sauron sent a ghost, basically, of Gorlim's wife to trap him.
In the sort of way that this show works, you can almost imagine Sauron actually showing up
as his mother. Yeah.
Oh,
I can see
that would be awful.
Sauron shape-shifting into the form. Ooh. Though he shouldn't be able to, because that battle will take place after the downfall of Númenor, when he lost the ability to shapeshift. But that assumes that they care enough about that degree of lore.
True.
Stickiness, because you're right. I totally can see them doing this. Having him show up as Bronwyn.
Yeah, because that's the mechanism by which he does things in the show.
But I know that's a deep speculation. I'm talking about something that's going to be maybe from 3 years from now, but man, they're setting it up. After he leaves, Estrid shows up, and we have another moment. And man, this was tough.
Kiss? Is this a kissing show?
Is this a kissing story?
I think it might be a kissing show.
I think it's a kissing show.
It is now.
It sure is. Yeah. And quite the kiss. I mean, clearly these two have a passion for each other. Whether it's a love or not, I'm not going to say.
This is not platonic. This is not passing the key to get out of the
brooch.
fetters.
No.
Yeah, this is clearly a romantic kiss. And really, I've seen a couple of people change the music and the editing. Like they've done their own custom cuts of that kiss scene from last episode with different music. And
it totally reads differently with different music.
It does. It's the music.
It's just the music and the editing. Yeah.
I said this in the class that Sarah and I teach, that if you don't listen, if you just turn down the volume, it seems like a completely platonic moment.
Yeah. And you said that you didn't think Bear had got the memo.
Yes.
And you might be right.
Yeah. Because it's the swelling of the Galadriel theme. And of course you get that same.
Too much swelling.
You get the swelling. You get the swelling of the music in this moment as well.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just going to leave that one alone, man. So
Seems
of course Theo won't come with me, and really I'd rather have you come anyway. Come and be my queen, right? You're going to be the queen of Númenor. No.
He has no aspirations to the
I didn't
throne
mean queen of Númenor. I
point.
meant queen of Gondor. She's going to end up being, Isildur's wife and the mother of Valandil, right? In theory, but it's not going to happen.
No.
So he invites her to come with him to Númenor. We'll see what happens. So we cut to the arrival of that Númenorian vessel, and man, Mr. Punchable Face himself gets.
Kemen.
I just want to hit him every time I see him. He's just.
Can I just say he's another one whose facial acting just totally makes the character.
Oh, when he sees Isildur and he's like quickly shifts from pure surprise to calculated. Oh, it's good.
But when he's giving him the hug and
yeah.
The look on his face is just
so good. Yeah.
Do you know that the name Kemen has been itching at the back of my brain? And I suddenly remembered this phrase, and I'm probably not pronouncing it right, and James will put me right, Veni Kemen. And that's the map that Tolkien did. It's in the Book of Lost Tales. It's a map of the world in which the world is a boat.
Is it in Book of Lost Tales or is it in Shaping Middle-earth?
No, it's Book of Lost Tales.
Oh, Book of Lost Tales, yes.
Because I looked it up. That's how I know for sure.
It's also was originally the name, when Tolkien conceived of the three as being elemental, water and air.
That's right.
It was the name of one of the rings. One of the rings was called Kemen.
Well, Kemen means soil or earth.
Yeah. So I thought it was Narya, but that doesn't make sense. So it would be, which ring would it be then?
I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. He changed one of the elements.
He changed one of the elements. So I think what eventually ended up becoming Narya was originally called Kemen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's in the Quenya lexicon. Kemen means soil. I mean, I don't know what they're trying to say. Maybe that Kemen is dirty or soiled himself. I don't know. But I mean, this is a real kind of, I trotted down this little side alley and found something.
But it's funny because I saw that the other day in the context of the original names of the rings, not the cosmological diagram.
So actually, Kemen, despite the fact that I wanted to call him Kevin all the way through season 1, Kemen is actually a word from Tolkien.
Yes, it is.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, this Kemen wearing a sling still, so props to them for that. I mean, at least his injury is still there, unlike Arondir's.
Bit of continuity, that's good.
Yeah, but boy, I'm telling you, he is just as arrogant and dismissive and punchable here as he has been for this whole time.
He's just loathly, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's one of these guys who's a bully only because somehow he got into that position, not because he's stronger than anybody.
Yes, but because of Daddy. Yes.
Yes. And it is just so...
He's a Nepo baby.
Yes.
Yeah, he really is.
I was going to say he has the second most annoying voice in the show.
Oh, whose is the first?
The most annoying voice in the show is Lord Belzegar.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my goodness. That's terrible. Yes, it is.
Every time he... yeah,
Traitors of Westerners.
exactly.
You're right. That is a bad, cringy... I mean...
It's a bad one. There's a bit more slime in Kemen's voice.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Now I can't get his voice out of my head. So Kemen, of course, immediately casts aside the agreement that they'd made with Miriel. Oh, new plan. I'm here to tell you what's going on. But before we get to finding out what that plan is, we see Isildur. He's a bit surprised to see Kemen. And like you said, there's that awkward hug where Kemen's got a look on his face that's not right.
Yeah. It's another one of those examples we've seen before of an actor acting as a bad actor.
Yes.
Which is really hard to do if you're a good actor, right? You have to be a really good actor to act as a bad actor. And he does it here with his kind of, happy to see. Yeah.
I'm going to have a tough time if I ever actually meet him. Like, I know we've met a lot of the cast, but I don't think he's been at any of the events. I'll have a very hard time like restraining myself. Man, dude, I don't know. You do such a good job of playing Kemen. I want to punch you right now. He's just such a punchable face.
Yep.
But of course, Isildur surprised to see him. Oh, I never gave up hope. I do love the mention of Beric. I wouldn't be able to work for Beric. And Beric's like, that's right. I'm over here nodding my head.
He owes it all to me.
Yep. So interestingly, he says, is there room on the ship for one more? Yeah. Oh, not a low man. Not a low man. We're not taking any.
Oh, the snobbery.
The class distinction, this sort of, that drives me nuts. I'm in the Gondorian Civil War right now in the appendices on the Prancing Pony podcast. And, I'm just reminded of how the men of Gondor looked askance at the Northmen among them and how in one of the drafts, it was sort of like, his name belongs to the North. Let him go back there. It's sort of this, let him go back where he came from sort of crap. I mean, it's just awful. Yeah. And we're seeing it already here. It's this, these are low men. They're not worthy of this. And so Isildur, he tries to do a little name dropping. Don't you know who I am, right? I mean, we have some rank here. My father, we do this and, we're Queen Miriel, blah, blah, blah.
Even his sister, brings up Aarian's membership of the guild. It says, my sister's a guild member.
She's a guild member. Like, that's more important than the fact that your father is a lord. My father's the Lord of Andunier, you moron.
Yeah. My sister seems to be in charge of everything, though.
She does, doesn't she? She has a lot of jobs. But, of course, this idea of pulling rank and saying, hey, I get an exception, right? Kemen gets to finally tell him what's up, right? Oh, no. Let me be clear. Your father's wanted for treason. Oh, this is bad.
My daddy's the king.
Yeah, my dad's the king. Your dad's wanted for treason. And you're just like, can you punch him? Come on, Isildur, punch him for me, will you? Yeah. But then, of course, we get the new deal, and this is definitely something I've been waiting for from the get-go of this show. I wanted to see this expansion, this sort of imperial version of Númenor. Pelargir is no longer a colony. It is now a fortress. I'm in charge here, that's going to be fun. And that makes sense. Because remember, we've talked about Kemen becoming a ring wraith. I think that's how it happens. He couldn't have become one easily if he's in Númenor. He has to be here to get the ring. So I think he's going to get one.
He might be one of the first.
He might very well be one of the first.
I would be so sad. Pass me a tissue so I may weep into it.
Oh, man. And of course, we get a really nice setup for what's going to end up happening where Arondir is going to have to become sort of the foil for Kemen because the price for remaining is timber from the forest for the ships. But
because
that'll be easy.
They're
only trees.
Oh, boy.
That's definitely setting up conflict with the Ents and with Arondir. And I am really, really looking forward to seeing
I'm here for that.
Yes. I'm all here for that. Yeah. And I just love that we're finally getting to see this expansionist, cruel version of Númenor. That change doesn't happen as quickly in the books, of course. It's all about that compression of the timeline here. But I'm glad we're finally seeing it to give us more
me too. Yep.
depth to Númenor and more sort of fleshing out their fall, the corruption that's happened to them. So, yeah. Wow. What an episode, folks. That concludes another episode of the Rings of Power wrap-up. Do, though, plan on joining us, well, soon. We don't have a date yet. Soonish, perhaps. We are going to be providing a full season retrospective. Maybe we'll have to break it into 2 episodes. I don't know. But it is hard to believe we're already done and have to wait to see what happens next.
Another 2 years.
I hope it's not that long. Now that they've relocated production, come on, they got to be able to get this done sooner, right? I hope.
Well, it's like I said, if it's 2 years in between every single season, it's going to end up being 10 years of it all. I mean, apart from anything else, the elves are going to start looking older.
Yes. Yeah.
That's true.
So,
yeah. I mean, one of them will be like 40% older than she started out, you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I don't know. I just hope it's quicker than that.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks to the team that helps us get this show out there every week. Our editor, Jordan Rannells, Barliman Becca Davis, social media manager, Casey Hilsey, and our website guru, Phil Dean.
Think what he could have been.
I know.
Oh, alas,
As a Númenorian
Phil
guy.
Dean.
Yeah.
Alas,
Anyway.
Phil. You wore that Númenorian armor well, my friend.
Yes, you did, Phil. Anyway, speaking of the website, please check it out at ringswrapup.com. We've got show notes, our online storefront, and one of these days, maybe even a few outtakes.
You'll also want to take a look at our library page. Now, this show may be about the Amazon adaptation, but the three of us are, no matter what anybody complains about, first and foremost fans of the books.
Or obsessed with the lore, depending on how you want to phrase it.
Or, well, whichever one you like. So we've provided links for you to get all the lore. And the
so you're
lore
obsessed.
is good.
It is good. It is good lore.
And we make no apologies for enjoying it. But we do get a few pennies from the purchases you make there, so thank you.
Indeed, thank you. One last thing as always, though, folks, don't forget to send your thoughts, comments, and most of all, your predictions for Season 3 to Barliman at theprancingponypodcast.com. Those are always fun. And if you want a chance to have your actual voice heard, well, you can send us audio of your question by visiting podinbox.com/prancingponypod, where you can record your question for us.
But be sure to send the question to Barliman too. Now, we've been able to rely on Barliman lately, but we do get a lot of mail. Some of it nicer than
clearly.
others. And we will get back to you when we can. Your question or comment may be featured on a future episode.
Yes, it might.
Today being one
That
example.
used to be an enticement, and now it's just a disclaimer.
Or a threat.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And as always, though, folks, even though this has been an exceedingly long time, it has still been far too short a time to spend among such excellent and admirable listeners. But until next time.
Halvar. Farewell, friends.